And welcome, everyone. Good to see you all. Happy Saturday. I finally remembered what day it is. That's a good thing. Here
Hola,
with my
¿qué tal?
T, John, and Steve. And we're
Konbanwa.
Konbanwa.
Konbanwa, mina.
Hi. 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 So this. Um.
Hey.
Genki desu ka?
Watashi
Genki
wa
dame.
very good des. Yes.
You could say Orowa.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
the ultra manly format.
Yeah. So yeah, it's end of a week. We're here to talk about anime. Particularly, we're here to talk about Horus, Prince of the Sun. And this is an anime film from quite a while ago. Let me just pull up the data on this. Horus,
1968.
1968, Isao Takahata's first film, the first film he directed. Story director of Grave of the Fireflies and many other things. And
Any other comedies?
yeah, you can see that here. I mean, boy, this is a fun one.
Yeah.
But also notable, and it's kind of worth orienting. This has Yasuo Otsuka, who went on to become one of the great animators. Hayao Miyazaki worked on scene design, did some key animation. Yasuji Mori, another great animator. Reiko Okayama, one of the first women animators in anime, worked on this as well as Yuichi Kotabe, key animator. And so a lot of sort of guiding lights in this movie. And Yasuo Otsuka's sort of style kind of permeates this and became kind of a guiding light for future animators. And kind of here's kind of how to animate things in a way that's dynamic and very, very memorable in its own animation ways. It has some interesting origins, which we may want to get into in terms of what it was inspired by. And also kind of some of the troubled production history behind Horus Prince of the Sun. But before we get into that, let's talk about the movie itself. And actually, really, the first thing I'd like to talk about a little bit is the just the art style, because it has a very kind of limited color palette.
Yes.
And some of that is kind of understandable in the sense that, there's only so much you can do visually in terms of like your color palette for a movie, right? Like, every single extra color is something else you have to paint and reference and so forth. Right. And you can tell that the filmmakers are really trying to be as thoughtful about this as possible. And there are quite a few cool scenes where they're clearly very limiting the color palette very directly. But I'll be honest, I found the film a little drab as a result. What did you guys think in general about sort of the visuals of the film?
Well, the big surprise for me was just how it started.
Yes.
I was not expecting it to go, okay, there's a totally, water crashing on the rocks, full live action, old Filmation, and kids swinging a battle axe around trying to kill a bunch of wolves. And there's just like massive amount of movement and just the way the wolves are moving, the kids moving. It's not very stationary. He's jumping everywhere. The wolves are charging and moving in different directions. Even like I think there's one point where Horus looks up the rocks and there's one looking down at him. And actually, they show it coming down. Instead of you referencing that it's attacking, and that really surprised me. And so I actually really liked this movie. So it grabbed me and it took me into the story pretty quickly.
It's funny,
but the to your point about the colors, though, I didn't really notice that until about a little bit further into the movie, where I'm just kind of like, things are not sharply defined in terms of the color. Like the color, usually I'm used to like a bright red or a defining gray, black, or something of that nature, and you don't really get that in this movie.
Well, it's like in Beauty and the Beast. Belle is the only character in the village wearing blue. So as she's walking through doing things, you just pick her out. Yeah, the little thing they did in the film. Just so you can kind of visually track her in various shots. Yeah.
Well, see, for this, the kind of sense I got out of their palette choices would be if in 1960s you asked somebody not familiar with Scandinavian lore and not familiar with Scandinavian landscapes to describe what they think of like Vikings.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, this is probably not a color palette you wouldn't envision in a stereotype. Be like, well, Vikings wore a lot of fur, right? Like just kind of brown stuff, and they had boats, and their boats were wood, so they're brown. Scandinavia is really rocky, so it's kind of gray, and there's woods, so they're brown and green. You know what I mean? So it's like, it really does kind of play out color palette wise. It's like what a stereotype of, kind of what a lot of Scandinavia would be. The bits and splashes of color that they get are interesting because they are kind of a color palette that you would see in some Chinese traditional outfits. Some of the sort of tunic styles and the red scarf kind of things and the little details and some of that stuff. So it was very interesting. But in watching the first few bits of it and through the whole film, I got the larger feeling of like, wow, so this is like Studio Ghibli has a kid with Don Hahn and Disney, and their kid grows up. All three of them somehow have a child, and it's Orange, Prince of the Sun.
Well, like, it's funny, when this movie came out, there was a reviewer who said, and I will quote, not when it came out, Encyclopedia of Japanese Pop Culture, Mark Schilling, who reviewed it in the monthly magazine called Sun, said, it wrote in 1968, in one corner of the world, there now exists a commercial animation that has surpassed Disney and started to make rapid advances. So people were absolutely very impressed at the.
I wouldn't go so far as to say surpassed. There are some interesting, for a lot of the kinetic movement that you have, for all the wolves attacking from different angles and stuff, there are still some spots in it where Horace jumps, and he's jumping in like a weird, he's moving forward and he jumps, and what he's wearing is moving forward with him. Despite like how the physics of that should kind of work. And the sort of playful aspect of the woo kind of jump thing is oddly awkward looking in that fashion. Like the whole wolf fight is just flying around. There's things moving. He's swinging the axe around and everything else. And then he's doing these weird jumps where he's trying to like kick them and get away from them. And it's there's some moments in it where it's just like, I don't know why did you do that like that? It's a really awkward look that you did for that jump. You could have done it in sort of a more natural kind of way, and you obviously have invested the effort to get that jump. Why did you do it that way?
Well, and let's go back to that wolf sequence for a second, because I think it's a great point. Since we just watched Momotaro's Divine Sea Warriors a little while ago, and then Hakujiden, Legend of the White Serpent, which was only 10 years before this came out, and same studio. This opening felt to me almost like a direct response to those movies, to say, we are not Hakujiden, we are not this stately fairy tale about, the sort of courtly romance. No, we are a kid throwing an axe at wolves. Adventure, action, violence. This is a very violent movie, and you get that right out of the gate.
But not gory violent.
No, true.
I mean, he swings the axe, and my dogs, the noises of the wolves, my dogs actually turned and looked at the speakers. They're like, what's going on? It's like, so they, they're indicating that kind of violence going on, but it's not like you see him swing the axe and like, one of the wolves gets its head split open. There's blood everywhere, brains flying around. It's like, no, he swings it here, and the dog kind of goes off. The wolf flies off. And it's like, you don't really see a lot of violence. You just see the, swinging of the axe violence.
Did any of you in that sound, in those sounds of the wolf fight, I got the dog yipping, but I heard another animal sound in there, which was chimps.
Huh.
And on Axe Impact.
Interesting.
The yips came around when he was kicking and they were kind of shoved out of the way, or they were hit with a rock or something like that. But it feels like, I think it was around with the axe strikes that they're just kind of this weird, sharp chimp sound of pain, which is kind of just different than the others. And, while it wasn't gory, I picked up on that. I was just like going, oh, they're really, animal pain sounds. And it's just like, okay, this added a little level of reality as opposed to, the White Serpent, where it's Panda Gang.
Yeah.
On the head with a mallet.
Yeah, absolutely. And this feels grounded.
So it's a lot. Yeah.
Well, during the axe swinging, one of the Silver Wolves, he scores it right across the belly.
Yeah.
Which, you know what I mean? If you were going to bring it forward about 20 years, that would result in just everywhere. But instead, what happens? Fur is gone, and you see pink belly. Not blood, not red, not guts, nothing. It just, and there's that spot, and off the dog goes. It's like, okay, that brings it up from, really shocking to okay.
And I'm sure that's Toy in 1968. Right?
Yeah,
like they just could not show that in theaters, no matter what was going on.
Right.
Well, they don't want to scare the living heck out of the little kids who are going to go see this nice adventure story and their parents.
Yeah, exactly. In your opening scene.
Yeah.
And so Horace gets into this story. It has the disadvantages of being a fairy tale based story in that sometimes things just kind of happen. Character kind of stumbles across stuff. Yeah. Fine. Horace ends up in this village, and one of the things I love about early Takahata and Miyazaki works is the momentum. They always have just this clarity of direction of their stories, which is kind of going from scene to scene to scene, very clearly motivated. And I really like that in this movie, where kind of random stuff happens, but at least you have characters reacting to that. Horace ends up in this village, and you have the fight with the giant
singing.
Fish. And we'll get to singing.
Singing.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to singing. I have thoughts on the singing.
Chinese operatic singing. This is the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, and so Horace goes and fights the giant fish. People consider this giant fish fight to be a turning point in Japanese animation. Partly because it is, and I'm not speaking out of specific people have said this thing, just generally. The realism of the movement of the fish and the way Horace reacts to it, as well as the attention to detail in that sequence, is something rarely done up to that point in animation. The way the water ripples, the way that the water flows off of the fish, things along those lines. There's just a detail to that scene that really stands out, especially from an animation perspective.
When Horace sees the pool and sees the fin, just sort of cutting back and forth through the pool,
and it's remarkable too how it is hard in animation to give a sense of scale for things that are unnaturally large, because we're used to the size of a fish, and that first shot of that fish, you think, oh my gosh, that's huge, despite the fact of how far away Horace is from it. So they're really effective in how they're putting all these things together. And then you have the fight with this giant fish, which he spears it in the eye, which
but again, no gut, no gut,
absolutely not.
Spears the eye, and then it's just it's as if you had gotten a raindrop hit you in the eye, and you're like, oh, jeez, there's a rain in my eye. No, you just speared it in the eye. There should be stuff shooting out. You're like, nope, it's fine.
It's fine. I've always felt that this scene reminds me a lot, and I personally think the boar god scene in Princess Mononoke is partly pulling from this sequence. Because you have Ashitaka running around this thing, and there are one or two shots which seem similar, where Ashitaka runs past the boar god and it's sort of out at it. And so I wonder if they are kind of calling back a little bit to this sequence in that film. Because it does have this energy, and I love how it starts silent. It's just him and the fish, and you're just really pulled into the scene. Which is, and I say that because it's dangerous in animation to cut out sound.
Right.
Sound's one of the things that pulls you in, and so the fact that they really do that and it's still an effective scene makes it work, despite the fact that it's a boy trying to spear a fish, without all of those other things. Just be okay. It's a big fish and he's spearing it, whatever. But it does have kind of that dramatic power, I think, because of all those different pieces they put into it.
Well, it's very interesting the way that drops in.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have the village reaction to the father having gone toe to toe with the fish and not come out well.
Yeah.
No, not to spoil it. But you have that gathering of the village. You have the machinations of the chief's second in command guy kind of fumbling around with everybody trying to influence things.
Yeah.
And then the next scene you have is Horace is 2 miles down and running fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just wait, hold on. Everybody was going to get together and do this, but no, nobody should do this independently. Nobody should risk their lives. Together we're stronger. We can do this as a community. Where's Horace?
Yeah.
It's no announcement. You don't even really see him being I can do this alone. No, he's just 2 miles down and running.
Yeah.
Why did you do that segue?
Yeah.
And the grandfather was frustrated because here he is. Everyone's starting to collect and go, okay, we're going to go back and kill the fish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Revenge for the father. And the grandfather comes out, and everyone, and the mother is just no, we have to do this in a clever way, and sort of just calms everyone down. And grandfather throws all the harpoons down, and he's just well, what the hell's the use?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Horace is writing down. Horace has already made up his own decision on what he's going to do. And, there's that just to me, as I was watching that particular scene, I was just thinking of all the staff meetings I've ever been in when no one can come to a decision, and he just is you know what, I'm going to quietly leave this meeting and go do my job because that's what I need to do. Mm-hmm. And that's what it kind of felt like to me. Horace is just well, you guys are going to sit here and figure this out. I'm going to take some stabby things and try and kill this fish. Revenge for Wanda. Anyway, so
the film has very mixed messages around these things. Yes, I completely agree. It's a little odd. But yeah, we'll so yeah,
there's some stuff.
Yeah. So you get all that, and then you get the attack of the wolves on the village, which they clearly didn't finish in time.
No,
because it's just static shots of people reacting and things coming in, and all that with audio.
Which those can be used to great effect. I mean, the static reaction shot to emphasize, a character's particular reaction can be used amazingly well.
Absolutely. This film.
And when you do it for a long period of time, static shots, it's that's all you get is oh, you guys didn't finish, did you? Somebody said you had a deadline.
It was me about the fast forward button. Don't just watch it.
So this
and again,
film,
massive violence, arrows firing, people with swords and clubs.
You got
no blood. No blood. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's nobody's visibly dead. Mm-hmm. None of the wolves are visibly particularly dead.
Heck, it's was it Biru, whatever, the girl who's getting married, who's clearly
Birna.
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 Clearly 12, but we'll get beyond that. It's whatever. You see her lying on the ground, and her husband picks her up tenderly. I'm oh crud! She's dying, or she's broken her legs, she's paralyzed. Nope, she's fine.
Yeah, she just take me back to the house, and then she's okay later on.
All right, weird. I should also point out.
Oh my goodness, that was a shocking experience. I should go have a lie down and be okay. All right.
I should also point out, for those who think we're being a little harsh, toy animated films at this point usually took 8 to 10 months to complete. This one started 3 years prior. They spent 2.5 years on this film and still weren't done when they went to release it. And this isn't the only scene where they do this.
Yep.
So it just feels a little bit like a missed opportunity there. Or like, obviously something went wrong. Something went very wrong.
Which you said you were going to tell us that there were production difficulties. So
yeah.
Eager to hear why this thing did the things that it did the way that it did.
Yeah. We'll get there. So then Horace, goes and meets Hilda, who is this girl. And I want to talk about Hilda, because Hilda's an interesting character, I think. I mean, granted, we get Hilda for 3 minutes of singing over these long shots of this village. And I'll put it this way. I'll give him this.
And swinging back and forth with her two animal pals.
Yeah. Seeing the destroyed village is definitely a moment. Because you realize, he came from a destroyed village. Okay, this is a big, big moment. And then they just kind of drag it out.
Yep.
And you meet Hilda, who is very much a female character of the time. This very sweet girl who's kind of doing things. And then you find out it's a little more complicated than that. What were your thoughts on Hilda as a character, both initially and kind of as the movie went on?
When she first showed up and in the decimated village, she's got her two little friends there, animal friends, and she's singing on this harp, and Horace is looking around and he finds her, and she's all alone, and there's this just very pure looking young girl, and you're just like, okay, she's clearly going to be the either the heroine or the love interest or whatever.
Cheetah.
But then it kind of and then it just, from that point, there's nothing really interesting about her. She's very plain, and except for the music, and the music is just like, after you could take about the first few bars, maybe 10 seconds, and you get the freaking point.
Yeah.
But then it goes on and on and on, and you're just like,
yes, it does.
Trying to jab yourself with something like a dull spoon in your eye, and you're just like, okay, get to the point. And then she's very kind of mysterious at first, because you don't really know that. She doesn't really give you much.
Yeah.
But Horace is just like, come back, come with us. You don't have to be lonely. You come. You're from the same decimated village. We're probably facing the same bad person. And it's just this blank expression on her face. It's like, okay, yeah, I'd like to go. And it just, this was one of the big things in the movie that I just didn't buy into, was this character. And when she started getting a little bit more complex, when you find out her lineage, and you figure out that, she's not everything she seems to be, you're just like, is she a Trojan horse? Is she, is this all a ruse? What is she? And after a while, I personally stopped caring after a certain point.
Fair.
Yeah, because there's so many other things that were going on. And then, she's trying to be the embodiment of, what do you rescue? What's your soul? What is it worth to you? Things like that. But it just doesn't, it was there, but it just didn't play out well for me. I really didn't like the character very much. I liked the rest of the movie, but for her character, I was kind of like, okay. I felt like you could actually have done this movie without that character.
And that's the thing. And I hate to put it this way, but her cardboard persona made her probably like one of the more boring, like, potential love interests. Early on in their meeting, they're like, I come from a destroyed village. You are from a destroyed village. We could be brother and sister. And she's like, we could be twins. And I'm thinking, that just took like a really creepy left turn on here. And it's just,
And granted,
yeah, she just keeps singing. I'm like, wow, this is a skill set that you've got down pat, because you don't do anything else. You'll wander around, you wander here and there.
It also gave me problems, and I found her a little more interesting, but it also frustrated me about Horace, because I'm like, okay, girl came from a village destroyed by a demon. You're going to take her to another village, and you assume the village is going to accept her fine. No, she's cursed. They're going to assume that she's been cursed by whatever attacked her village, and they should not keep her there. And the fact that Horace is like, oh, it'll be fine. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, you should be thinking these things through. So that hurt my opinion of him. But also, and I think this is one of those classic writing problems. You see it a lot in D&D, where someone creates this really complex backstory for a character that motivates all their decisions, but never tells you about them. And so they're introduced and they have all of these weird reactions to things, and they're just confusing. Clearly, the intent here is that she has been inserted into Horace's story very deliberately to, as a Trojan horse to act out. And she's feeling conflicted, right? She is acting a part. And so she's hiding a lot of things. And so I think the implication is you're supposed to, they know all the things going on in her head and all the reasons why she's acting the way she is and why she's being very reserved. We don't know that until 20 minutes later. So we see the character and she's kind of dull. And then by the time we realize there's more, we're like, well, I don't care about her anyway. So who cares? Yeah.
Well, I mean, even by the time you get a little bit more behind the curtain, your brother's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Did he, kill your family? Did he, torture you? Did he, slap the squirrel around? Does the owl peck you in the head at night or something? You know what I mean? It's like,
by the way,
what exactly?
By the way, the clearly evil owl. He shows up, and I'm like, he's evil. Why are you with him?
Yeah. Well, with the excellent, and that hence I said the wild child of Don Hahn. It's exactly. Got the freaking eyes from the White Serpent of the duck. You know what I mean? It's got that little crazy evil eyes. Be like, I think most people seeing that owl will be like, that ain't right.
Yeah.
That thing's wrong. Know what it's doing.
I wouldn't be surprised if the
that thing's wrong.
Hey, right there. That's a perfect example of that picture right there, where it's like it just screams evil.
It was like the it actually reminds me quite a bit of the Great Owl from The Secret of Nim. And I wonder if there's a little bit of that in here. I don't know if maybe Don Bluth saw this film at some point. Who knows?
You never can tell.
No.
I mean, was the release of this in '68 purely Japan, or it had a worldwide release so that there could have been influences across?
It's very limited.
Yeah, it got released over here eventually, on television, things like that. But it was not. Yeah, this was released for 10 days in Japan. 10 days.
3 years and got 10 days.
And that's one of the things.
Ow.
So let's fast forward a little bit to the ending. We have the required by law, everyone turns against the hero moment. Gotta have it.
And apparently can only hit him occasionally with rocks. But even though there's a huge crowd, they're flying all around him. But one hits him in the chest. It's like, oh,
whatever.
Yeah.
At
that point, you always wonder if maybe the Wolves should win if they can't.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
How do these people fish? We watched the whole Happy Village fishing. They can nail a salmon with a spear and 3 feet away. Why don't you hit a kid with a rock?
Apparently not.
I just love the ending for the kaiju fight, but that's just
yes, that's pretty cool. But then before you get to that, you get to some sort of classic Takahata animation work, and I personally really liked the sequence of the film visually when Horace is attacked by Hilda. And you really get some intensity for her. That's the one scene where she gets to emote. You get to see the conflict going on with her. And then he's in this with the Forest of Doubt, whatever it is. And I just
which
really
looks like a lake to me. Right?
Yeah. And it's again, it's sort of one of those classic mythical tropes where you're out in the wilderness and you're trying to find your way and you got to come to some realization. This is where we start getting the sort of, okay, everyone, he needs to get out of here, so he makes a realization. Moving on.
That great moment of like, what? Where? Hey, there's the exit. Oh my God. Really?
Yeah.
That's how you resolve your great psychological problems.
Yep.
You're like, hey, there's an exit.
Yep, figured it out. We're done.
Keep in mind,
Wonderful.
So keep in mind, at this point, I was in the haze of like NyQuil, and various other meds, and watching that scene where he just arbitrarily comes to, hey, I figured it out, and I'm sitting there going, what did you figure out?
Yes.
I don't.
Bring me with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, please, because this NyQuil is really doing its job on me.
I want to know.
Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Forest of Doubt. Am I watching the never-ending story? Am I going to watch a horse drown in quicksand? I mean, what is going to go happen now?
Yeah. That's what it feels like. But he finds his way out, which is great, and then he returns to the happy society that's apparently reforging the sword, even though we don't see anyone forging. Whatever, the sword is being reforged. It's happening.
Oh, and I like the way he goes to the guy who is a blacksmith.
Yeah.
Whacks the sword a couple of times, and then like later in the film, where he's done no training, no montage to like learn blacksmithing skills. Oh hell no! He's in there working the forge. I'm gonna reforge this and have the sword of the sun. Be like, kid, what are you doing? Guys, the professional is not here. All you're doing basically is making noise.
That's the thing. That's what I love. Like the guy is like holding the tongs for Horace. It's like, no, not you're Horace, you're holding them. No. Very odd. But yes, and then you have the big climax, where everyone comes together to forge the sword and fight everyone off. And people argue this might be one of the reasons why the movie had such a troubled history. Takahata and Miyazaki were famous at Toei for being union organizers. And this film is all about a village coming together, and working together and organizing. And there are multiple lines in the ending about how, we're better as a unit than individually, and we got to all unite. So this is kind of a thinly veiled sort of socialist propaganda piece in moments in that ending, and you get this awesome kaiju fight. You're absolutely right, between the icy woolly mammoth and the giant rock creature.
Which wouldn't it have been nice if they had filled a little bit more in on Moog, other than like. He just randomly sits up there in the little fight. Yep. You pull a sword out of him, and then that's it. And then here's the end.
I'm going to say, Moog starts the movie. He like gives Horace what he needs, and he literally like he both defeats the mammoth, and he is what brings the sun in to defeat the bad guy at the end. He's the hero of the movie. He is.
Yeah.
And yet you only see him for these tiny little slices of time.
Mm-hmm. It's very weird.
And defeating the mammoth is just pushing it off a cliff. Anybody could have done that. That's nothing.
Yeah, which is also weird because we have, again, this very violent movie, and he's literally like they're not even going at each other. He's like, the mammoth is kind of there, and he's just kind of slowly pushing it over. It's like, well, that's not very climatic.
Well, it tries to bite him at one point, like the mammoth gets like it, and it does have legit, like it goes scarier.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
When it's gonna bite Moog, it goes from just a mouth with kind of icicles to like most of its head snaps open underneath the trunk and tries to bite into Moog, and it's like, okay, so icicle teeth and stone.
Yeah,
that's see right there. That's its attack. That's all it knows how to do. That's the thing. But it's just at the same time, it's like, and then Moog pushes it off a cliff. You guys didn't even give us a kernel of like the mammoth could hurt Moog, but he does like something to. No, he just stands there, takes it, and goes, ugh. Great.
I'll take care of the mammoth.
Yeah, and the bear reminded me of Panda from the White Serpent.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Was it Cora? Coco, whatever the heck. What is the bear's name in this one?
Yeah.
Coco?
Coco, yeah.
All I can think of was just him. I was waiting for him to look at it and go, Kuma, Kuma. Like, no. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Yeah. And then, 10 years after, 6 years after this, he'd become the panda in Panda Go Panda.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, and then everyone comes all together and, defeats everyone as a group because apparently we don't need Horus anymore. I don't know. And then we get this very confusing shot of so they're inside the ice castle, and they're defeating a thing, and then suddenly they're all outside the ice castle watching it collapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know how that happened. But it all collapses, and that's great. And then Hilda's dead, but she's not, I guess.
Yeah, she apparently freezes to death, and yet, much like a maiden of spring, snow melts, and she's alive. Okay.
For no reason, and we never understand what's going on with any. And so here's the thing: we talked about ambiguity tolerance.
And she doesn't have the life amulet,
right,
which apparently makes you fly.
Yes, I like that. Where it's like, oh, by the way,
Do you need to fly? Have the life amulet. What about you? Is that what keeps you alive? Because otherwise you froze to death. How the hell did this work?
Okay. And so we've talked about ambiguity tolerance in the past, where a lot of movies, a lot of stories don't have to tell you every little individual detail. They leave some things for you to interpret. This is not that. I'm gonna say. Because there are a lot of details here which are kind of important for the plot. Like, Hilda's alive, why? Because you set up the fact that she needs this to live. Now, I assume the implication is that she's basically locked in time with the amulet. The amulet prevents her from aging. So, she doesn't, without the amulet, she's mortal, basically. But she's still, 12. So she needs to live. So I don't know.
Well, she survived freezing to death, so
apparently
maybe she is, like you're saying, locked to the amulet. Maybe that's some of the key. She can give the amulet away, but she's so bound to it, she can freeze to death in the wintertime and wake up in the spring, and she's not dead.
Which is convenient in Hokkaido. Sorry, in Norway.
Yeah.
So, just to let you guys know, when I was in the fever dream of NyQuil, perfect sense, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm no longer in the fever dream of NyQuil, I'm just going, why did I look at this again? I like that scene. I like that.
I completely agree. I enjoyed this movie. It's just, it has a lot of these weird little inconsistencies all the way through. It just make it kind of frustrating. But and I'm glad you brought that up, because you're absolutely right. As a just, kids adventure movie, it's a fun ride. It's a roller coaster. But not tightly plotted, I would say. By the way, the reason I say Hokkaido, this is actually an Ainu tale.
Yep.
This is a legend from the Ainu people. And because they were concerned about the potential backlash of ethnically Japanese people interpreting an Ainu tale, they just put it in Norway.
Right.
Interesting, because I was looking up Grunwald, and I found the Battle of Grunwald.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's a little... I'm like, that's not what this is about. I'm like, that's all going in there.
Which is why they don't really look Scandinavian. They look more like, ancient Ainu, right? It's really more that. And I would say, not even real ancient Ainu, but again, kind of the picture book version. That's where that came from. So it's sort of a problematic movie in terms of production and such, where they decided to adapt another culture's story, hide it by putting it into another culture that they're not familiar with, spend 2.5 years on it, not really finish it, and make it basically give it a socialist ending during the height of the Vietnam War. So it comes out And for some reason, the studio doesn't want to give it a 6-month release. Yeah.
The studio exec, after they see the first viewing in the private booth. Oh, no. No. Where was the supervisor for all this?
Well, I can imagine the sponsors back in this one must have been like, okay, you've got the finished product in the can. Can we see it? Oh,
you don't really want
it.
to.
It just went to the theater. We don't have a copy right now. Your check cleared, right? We're good. Okay.
It's great. There's a boy and a girl and a lot of adventure. It's great. Yeah, it's great.
It'll go well in Sapporo. We promise you. Really? Yokohama will knock him dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's why the violence is so interesting, because again, compared to like any other movie from this period, really into the 70s, you see a lot of action. You see a lot of in science fiction, ray guns and all that kind of stuff. But you don't see the kind of visceral violence you see here. I mean, again, blades hitting flesh, no blood. But there's definitely kind of a grittiness to Horus that you really don't see in much other anime for quite a while, I think. Which I think is another reason they kind of turned off probably a lot of the studio execs and other folks who I'm like, parents might still complain. Who knows?
I was to say that the work they did with getting the wolf fights, it's got a lot of a very well done swirling action going on, but you don't see blood. That's fine.
Yeah,
but it's like cold fingers down my spine when I hear an animal make a hurt animal noise. It's kind of like
absolutely.
Like I'm not.
Well, and especially in that opening sequence, it's so stark. Like you don't know what's going on. It's just dozens of wolves attacking a small child. Like that gets you going.
Yeah.
I was going to say this movie, while it definitely has its issues and its problems, one of the things the big takeaways that I took from it was that it is superior animation in parts.
Oh yes.
Parts of the scene, right? Like the wolf fight, the fighting with the fish, and things of that nature. You can definitely tell the direction of anime that the animation of anime was going in at that time, and you can tell that the people involved, this is what can happen when you have that kind of a team together. And you can definitely see character designs for the next 15, 20 years. I mean, the old guy, the grandfather, the Smith, how many?
Yeah, the hair, the nose.
Yeah.
The father, Horace's father, who's got the mop of hair where you can hardly see anything, and the giant beard mustache thing. It's like, kind of talking.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Right there. There's the nose and the hair.
and even further, again, this is basically Pazu and Shido from Castle in the Sky, or prototypes thereof, who would then go on to be prototypical in a lot of things. The girl has echoes of Clarice in Cagliostro, I think. There's a lot of those elements sort of woven through. The mother it reminds me a lot of the various mothers of Miyazaki movies.
Right.
So yeah,
right. I wouldn't go so far as a test platform, because it had theater release, and it had they've spent so much time on it. But yeah, there's definitely all those little kernels, little nuggets of things that moved on. The fish fight. If you were experimenting with it and that was just a short, you know what I mean? I could see where you're like, now you got the mechanics down. This is how this is going to play out in the future. Now it's all, cobbled together into this film, but you could see those individual parts and pieces where it's like, yeah, I see how that worked really, really well.
Well, and Takahata said this is one of the things that they did at Toei Films, that when they were working on these animated films, they would choose, every movie they would choose one aspect of filmmaking in animation to try to improve on. So they would say, okay, in this movie, we're going to figure out how to do good crowd scenes. And we're going to, sprinkle in crowd scenes and kind of figure all that stuff out. And then the next movie would be, something else. So maybe, I think there's a lot of like pretty realistic animal movement in this. So that might have been the focus on this one. Right. Especially with the fish. So that you see things like, I think Kiki's Delivery Service is a great example of kind of the apotheosis of that, where you know how to do crowd scenes. And so when you get to Kiki's, you have these crowd scenes where it's, there are a few shots of like everybody moving, but it's often, 80% still, and then enough people moving to give you a sense of the movement of the crowds. Right. So these were, in many ways, kind of those test platforms. You're absolutely right for those things.
Well, I think certainly when you look at Moog, when you're first introduced to him, the hand pulling out, the foot popping up, him standing up, and just the parts of Moog that, you know what I mean? It's like, you guys did a really good job on Moog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a shame you didn't use more Moog. You know what I mean? Because he had the way he's put together, you can follow the seams of the parts of him that are put together. It's not just sort of a blanket. Coco, the bear. Poro, Coco, whatever. You don't. It's it might have been the version I was watching where it was hard to see. Like, I didn't notice any joints or elbows or any kind of lines and ligament kind of movement. It's just a general bear shape running around.
Chip and Dale.
Even the owl, it had some fluttering of its feathers at points, but it wasn't like a detail on the movement of the owl wings where I'm like, oh, wow, they really studied the hell out of that.
Speaking of which, when he's finally dealing with her, I'm gonna see if I can find it. When he's finally like screaming at her. By the way, she kills him at the end. Yeah, he finally does the thing. He literally in front of her, hovers for. Where is that?
Yeah, and she kind of matter-of-factly does it. I mean, she doesn't even like. She doesn't think twice about it. She's just like, poof, and there's a puff of feathers.
He's gone.
Like, wow.
So he's there. Where is that sequence with him? Because it was like noticeable. It was kind of hilariously weird.
And the part where Horace is having the in the ice castle, he's standing there with the sword of the sun, and all the light is reflecting off of the spears, and it's just like a strobe effect. I'm like, oh, it's like that Pokemon adventure where everybody's gonna have a stroke. Like, nice. There's nothing like inducing an epileptic seizure.
Hey,
awesome.
It's great. And again, getting back to Steve's point, I really like this film. Really, I enjoy the film. It just feels like it's 85% of what it needs to be. It feels like there are just a few little bits and pieces that need to be roughed off for it to really feel like a whole. But it's just kind of clanking along, unfortunately. But clearly, an important step.
And again, it's got good parts to it. Like it's, like it. Some of the way that it was done felt like you had different production units working on different things. Yeah. And that the fish scene, the wolf scene, and then like just generally when they're making Bira's wedding gown. That's, you know what I mean? They feel like really different production units that then put the whole together. And some of them were better at what they did, some of them not so much, and then just more story detail, I think, really would have tied it together as a cohesive whole.
And it's another example of, I think, what happens when you do spend 2.5 years, by the time 2 years drags on, you're in a different headspace than you were 2 years prior. So the animation is going to be different, like your approach to things is going to be different, and that happens. Yeah.
Well, let's see. Run it 2.5 years, 68. So that's 66. So somewhere in late 65 into 66. Yeah, things changed markedly in the world in that time period.
Yeah. The production started in autumn 1965, but it was not completed until March 68. Things were happening.
We're talking vamping up bombing in Vietnam. We're talking vamping up U.S. military presence in Okinawa and in the Korean Peninsula. You know, I mean, you're talking a lot of activity going on in the Pacific with China and Soviet, forces in the Far East. Yeah, I mean, by the time you get to 1968, the eve of the Tet Offensive, you've got a lot of crap going down.
Yeah. It's yeah. And I think it shows. Another thing that's kind of interesting is that apparently Takahata was very democratic in his approach, where he very much wanted opinions from a lot of the staff. It's one of the reasons why visually, some of the character designs look very different. Because literally they had different character designers for different characters. And I think that has advantages, and I think it works in some ways in the film, but in other ways it does feel a little disjointed sometimes when you have those things interact.
Yeah, so on some of the characters, I just really kind of wondered about things like the second in command. Why?
Yeah.
Anyone else get the sense that he was wearing somebody else's skin? The
dark line.
And everything else was dark, and I was just like, he's telling me he's not wearing somebody's skin. Maybe that was the NyQuil talking.
How about the little kid Manu?
Yeah.
Was the little kid Manu or Manui, whatever it was?
No whites in his
eyes. It was like, dark eyes and just like this smooth face. Like there's no character face definition right there.
Yeah, there we go.
That kid. Mm-hmm. It's just like, wow, that's different than Horace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very. What a bold character design. No.
Yeah. No. And again, I kind of like it because it does feel different, right? It feels like different kinds of people.
Cute.
It's cute,
very
right?
Cute.
But it does have its downsides. Also, I will point out to anyone watching, because it's something people, want to know. There is a brief scene of nudity, male nudity, so just be aware of that in case your parents happen to come in at that exact scene. Like, just be aware. Very innocent, but just
okay. It's one of those things where you just gotta go.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, for a film that can have people swinging axes and shooting arrows, and there's no violence. Why the hell changing a tunic would be necessary? Other than here's my husband's tunic, put that on. Mm-hmm. Segue. Now he's wearing it. Why do I?
Why do we have to see that? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to know.
It's just eye candy.
Apparently.
Or I guess 10-year-old girls who need a eye candy moment for whatever.
I don't want to think about this at all. But yes.
And we're not putting that screenshot up.
No.
No,
don't do that.
No.
See, that was a very cute scene showing the sort of human side to Hilda.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and again, this is where you kind of get to understand her a bit more as a character and what's going on. But just it's funny, and I also feel bad because I feel like if this was 1968, I would adore the hell out of this film. I would be blown away by this film, comparing it to White Serpent and Alakazam the Great and all the other ones.
Before.
Yeah, but having seen like Casa of Cagliostro and Totoro and all these other movies, it's like
living now into the second decade and going to the third decade of the 21st century. Yeah, something from 1968 is like
50 years old. Yeah. So
if I was born during the war and had seen the privations of post-war life and the sort of rebuilding of the world afterwards, and this comes out, I'm going to be blown the hell away by it. Mm-hmm. And here we are today.
Yeah.
It's some good study in how to do animation. You guys did an awesome job.
Absolutely.
And Jay, I don't think it's Native American stereotypes. They're trying to sort of work with Scandinavian.
Yeah.
The headdress on Hilda, not so much, but the tunic, I think definitely they got the Scandinavian part nailed down pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is meant to be Scandinavia. kind of, sort of, with Don Bluth characters. I don't know.
So a lot of liberties taken.
A lot of liberties taken. That's a great way of putting it. Yes. And then weird. Oh, and I should also mention very clear visuals and sort of design elements pulled from the Snow Queen, the Russian animated film from the 50s, which is one of Miyazaki's favorites. So if you're curious about that, Snow Queen. All right. I think any other thoughts on Horace before we move on? Other things?
It's a great thing to watch when you're sick and you're dosed up on NyQuil.
There we go.
Awesome, right? Actually, no, in all seriousness, if you just take it for what it is, it's actually a really nice movie.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
As I say, don't expect terribly wonderful, super things out of it. Just sort of let it roll by you, and it's a very nice film.
It is. It's lovely. There's some really lovely moments in it. Cool. All right. Switching back over. Let me see if I can't disable some of this stuff, and we will just chat for a little bit. Hello, everyone. It's 9:00. We're here with our various drinks.
Tea time.
I have my tea, which is slightly enhanced in several
Your
ways.
Maker's Mark tea?
My daily Diet Coke addiction.
Yeah, there we go. John thanks you, I'm sure.
I do. Pay my mortgage, damn it. Pay my mortgage.
There we are. Made a mortgage payment yesterday. It's like, oh, yeah. Thinking,
You're free for another month.
Yeah, exactly. Like to see that number going down. At least it's going down. That balance.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about mortgage payments. We're here to talk about anime.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, exactly. What have you guys been watching, exploring, having fun with?
Well, for my channel, I was attempting to watch anime, but of course I was very limited. Horace, of course, Demon City Shinjuku, which was on Retro City Crush or Retro Crush channel, and I watched the American dub, and it was very laughable.
Okay.
There's I think the young lady did both the character of the young British lady and the, I guess, ramen maker woman who's from Osaka.
Okay.
Went from a really bad country western accent to a really bad posh British accent. It was a very interesting, segue to all that. And but it was an interesting movie. I wish I wasn't as dosed up on NyQuil as I was when I was watching it, because there were parts of it. It's kind of like going, no. So,
are you sure you didn't pass out slightly and lose context for a minute, maybe?
Entirely possible, honestly. Entirely possible. I just kind of woke up and I just went, why is he stabbing with... Okay, never mind.
Demon City Shinjuku is a fever dream. So, I mean, you're fine. Wow. It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a hot mess. It's fun, but it's a hot mess.
Exactly.
So for next week, nice. The review I'm going to do is I don't watch these very often, and I have to look up the title here. Metal Skin Panic Maddox 01. It's one of those, hey, we can do this kind of things
Maddox?
That are MADOX-1. And it's Metal Skin Panic. It's got some interesting people associated with it.
I've heard of Maddox before, but I don't remember what the context was that I heard of it before. So
it was directed and written by Shinji Aramaki.
Okay.
It has bunch of it's that guy in there. Production.
It's that guy.
And Shinji Aramaki, Kimitoshi Yamane, mechanical design, which is really the whole point why this thing was made. Yasunori Honda, sound director. A whole bunch of other. Hideki Tamura, character design. A lot of these guys worked on a whole bunch of different anime over the years, like Cowboy Bebop and stuff like that.
It's a mech show or a mech movie, right?
It's only 41 minutes. It's one of those OVAs where a team got together to. The reason why these things are made is to either pilot shoot a idea, a mech design, or for a toy, or something of that nature. So they're only like 40 to 60 minutes. And they get a whole bunch of people. They try to get a whole bunch of people who are good animators to get into it. It's a very thinly plot thing. And anyway, so I watched that for 40 minutes and was pretty entertained by it for what I watched.
Fair. Yeah.
But anyway, I'll get into it on my channel next week. But that is literally the only anime I watched before crawling back into bed and going, I hate diseases and flus and allergies. And...
I hate diseases.
Totally fair.
Wow.
How about you, John?
I finally launched into Machikado Mazuku, which is Demon Girl Next Door.
Ooh, I remember watching the episode of that. Yes.
Yeah, it finally dropped in its totality, so I started watching that. Then I jumped on the first episode of Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, season 3.
Okay.
Jumped on Tonikaku Kawaii, which is another new one. Guy meets girl and they get married. Episode 1.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That accelerated quickly.
It popped up on my anime list as one of the fastest boy meets girl marriage. And they showed like some of the other ones are like, oh, here's, one of them was like 34 episodes they get married. 26 episodes, 10. This one's 1.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah. The only one.
What is it? Kamatachi, By the Grace of the Gods, where a kid's raising slimes. We talked about it a few months ago.
Yeah.
So started that. Watched the I'm Standing on a Million Lives. I'm standing on a million lives. It's 100 Man no Inochi.
Yeah.
That's the newer one. Interesting isekai approach.
Okay.
You flip in and out of the isekai.
Ooh.
So you're chosen by someone, and you go to this isekai world, and you complete a quest, and by that, then you can then invite someone to go with you, and so that every time you complete the quest, you go back to your home world.
Oh.
So that you flip in and out. So we'll see how that's gonna go. Finished out the next season of Ray Zero.
Okay.
Started Assault Lily Bouquet.
Okay.
Which Assault Lily's it's cute. I mean, it's going to be an interesting magical girl kind of thing. I wouldn't say it's super great, but I've only seen one episode of it, and it's got me interested to watch a little bit more. It's got very tropey girl collection characters.
Welcome to Magical
Girl.
See.
Yeah. We'll see how that runs out. Started Rail Romanesque, which they're very short episodes. They're only like 5 or 12 minutes long. They're very short.
Yeah.
It is entirely all of the independent rail companies that operate rail lines in Japan.
Okay.
And each independent rail company has a rail lord who is a girl in this show.
Okay. Yep.
And so far, it's just I liked the Hot Springs Hakone series that I watched a few years ago. Same kind of thing, or it's like the 7 hot springs of Hakone, and all they're personified as being each hot spring hotel has its own god, and they interact, and it's cute and advertises their hot springs.
Yep.
This, maybe it's because I've seen that already that now I'm like, I don't care what the whatever Kamagawa Electric Rail Company CR 15278. I don't know what that is. It's a little girl, and they're all cute doing cute things, and I'm like, it doesn't do it for me. They have gone and released Strike Witches Road to Berlin. So the next installment of Strike Witches. So they're now they freed Italy, they freed France, and now they're beginning the move to free Germany and Central Europe from the Neroi. So I'm like, Yes. Very excited for that.
Cool.
Saw the first episode of the Irregular Magic High the next season, the Visitor arc, I think they're calling it, and I liked the Irregular Magic High. Was it Mahoka Koko no Ritose? I liked that series.
Okay.
Little too much like competition arc parts to the whole story, where you have the overarching story that's going for what you're getting at, and then in that, we have to go to this school and do this competition, and that fleshes out little bits and pieces of the main story. And now we've come back to our school, and let's cover a little bit more of the main story. And we got another competition. We'll go over here. I'm like, that's like what drove me mad about World Trigger.
Oh, okay.
But didn't drive me mad about this one. World Trigger, it's like we deal with the bad guys coming from another dimension, and then we train. There's training montages, and then we do this for like 10 episodes, and then there's a little bit more bad guy stuff, and then there's 20 episodes of training. I'm like, so I've watched a lot of stuff.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Sorry.
So we'll see how that fleshes out for the rest of the season. I'm just so excited, that the season has started, that I'm just watching all these parts and pieces.
Yeah.
I'm like, yay!
Oh yeah.
Some new stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we will be doing the seasonal anime review next week. So you'll be, I say we. There will be a seasonal anime review next week, whenever we get a chance to watch.
Yes, I would love to know everyone's opinions on the ones that I think are kind of meh, and the ones that I think are like, yeah. It'll probably be like totally reverse. You guys will probably be like, oh my gosh, I love that. I'm like, I was kind of cold to it. And I'll be like, this one I thought was great. And you're like, did the aneurysm come back? Like, come on. It's not very nice. But
the only other anime I can think of, you got me thinking about shotgun marriages, if you will, in anime. Only other one I can think of is Please Teacher, because I think they get married at the end of episode 1, or maybe episode 2 from that. Yeah, Onegai Teacher. It's very early in the show.
I don't know.
It might be, but yeah, it's like basically the inciting incident is he has to marry her.
What isn't Onegai Teacher? Doesn't it start with the misunderstanding, and then like episode 2 is where like the only way to solve the misunderstanding is for them to get married?
I think that's right. Yeah.
So it's like this one. I'm not ready to bounce off of Tonikaku Kawaii, but I'm not super committed to the way that the characters are designed, and I'm not super committed again to the way that the male character, the male lead is. That's kind of where I'm going to see I'm standing on A Million Lives, because the male character is really, I don't know what it is. It's these weird kind of male protagonist characters lately that are just grating on me and they're tropey. I mean, it's nothing new.
Yeah. It's
just for some particular reason right now, that character type where it's like, I can't make a decision. But I've got to stand up. No, I don't know. It's like
Godly Blade in the chat room is saying that Tonikaku Kawaii is made by the guy who made Haita the Combat Butler, which is a very long-running series where it's more about, how these relationships develop over time, which, so there's a commitment there implied, as opposed to these characters will be like, amazing episode 1. So, yeah, I can see where that can be like.
I really liked Hayate, and I liked the way that Hayate started up and ran. I got a little frustrated once it started branching off into like Hayate cuties, and like some of these other sort of it took a lot of arcy turns to it, so I sort of got off track from the original storyline, and I like ended up in cuties, and I'm like, what's going on now? Like, this is not kind of developing the main storyline. I thought it's like, now you've moved into a different place. You're no longer at Nagi's mansion and stuff. You're now like in like a boarding house, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, something's gone wrong.
Yeah, that's a franchise that developed. It moved. Cool. I have not been watching any anime. I have again been living anime. I have been inside anime. I've been playing Genshin Impact, and I have a few videos on the channel now playing some of Genshin Impact. If those are curious about that video game, oh my goodness, I love that game.
It's very kawaii.
It's very kawaii. And somebody in one of the things said that the thing about it is, okay, so I won't spend too much time on this, but one of the things is that you earn this in-game currency, which you can use on basically loot boxes for in-game items and other characters in your party who are basically cute anime girls and cute anime boys, right?
Right.
In a lot of other games like this, the game is collecting cute anime girls and boys. Oh, and by the way, like, you're fighting monsters technically somehow by clicking a button, but really you're collecting these things, right? There's this kind of thin veneer over top of that. This really reverses it. There is a full game you are playing through, and that is an addition on top of it. You can absolutely, and obviously I haven't gotten, hundreds of hours in it yet, but you can absolutely play through this game with just, the basic stuff, randomly get a few characters, that's great, enjoy it. But that is sort of the flip side of the thing. And I'm sure what they're expecting is that once you've invested, 10, 15, 20 hours in the game, and now you're into it, now you're exploring the world and so forth, and now there's nothing else to do but collect more of the girls. You can have more girls, and then explore the world with these girls, see what it's like with those girls, and what does the boy do, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I like your off the cuff kind of statement. I haven't spent hundreds of hours playing it yet. Like, oh boy.
It reminds me of the Egaretsu episode where she gets the virtual reality platform, and she gets the game where it's like she puts on the VR and she spends all of her money, all of her time on this because it's all about her, and on VR with this fictional unicorn guy, and she's just like it shows like her bank account like dropping as she's playing this VR game, because he keeps going on like, I haven't a thing to wear. Can you help me choose my clothes? I can wear this. I can wear that. My horn on my head can go longer if you'd like.
Oh, there's a whole area already for outfits. It's not fleshed out yet. Like, there's nothing there for it, but it's there. It's like, everyone's waiting.
It's going to be the limited summer outfit.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. Randomly, right? So you have to do it 500 times. So that's the thing. And I should point out, it should always be pointed out in these things, I am fortunate in that I do not have an addictive personality around gambling, right? Gambling stuff just has no appeal to me. So I'm enjoying this knowing that kind of stuff just is not. I might spend money on it, but I'm probably not going to get sucked into that.
I'd be willing to bet you're going to enjoy that game.
Oh, I'm enjoying that game. I have fully enjoyed that game, and I will continue to enjoy that game. It is on
put some money
devices.
down on how much you're going to spend on that game?
Oh yeah, we'll see. So we will see. But yeah, it's what I enjoy is, and they're saying it's like Breath of the Wild. So it's this open world game. You're exploring this environment, and so what I like is you can just do that. Right, you can just go from place to place, walk around, explore things. There's a whole, so basically there's a vaguely Germanic, Middle European land, and then there's China land, basically, south of that, and probably more to come. So you can just wander around and look at the pretty pictures, which is really nice. Yeah, there we go. So yeah.
Yes. Spin was just asking, how do I watch so much anime? It's because I've got a problem.
Yes.
Send help.
And in fairness, I had a friend who, Bleach had been out for a year or so, and he wanted to get into Bleach, and so he caught up in 3 weeks.
My God.
Because he just spent every weekend and every evening watching Bleach.
I mean, honestly, you can in any given day. Like I said to Spin, I will get up. I'll get check the bills, check my email, do everything else. Watch a 20-minute episode before the day really gets rolling. Then at lunchtime, I'll watch 20 minutes. And when I get home, I've got a little bit more time at night, so I might watch 2 episodes of something. So that covers me anywhere from 3 to 4 episodes a day.
Yeah.
So you figure the new slate of shows coming out, those that fall within what I'm looking for immediately, if there's 6 shows, in literally 2 days, I've already covered all the brand new season. Out of the 6 shows I'm willing to watch. So
yeah,
you can rack it up quick.
Absolutely. Somebody I was talking to, maybe in one of the chatters, somebody was on, I think, Mal, saying they had watched 1,000 anime all the way through. And they'd only been watching for like a decade. And folks couldn't quite believe that. And I'm like, that's like 1 or 2 discs a day.
That's positive. Okay.
Right? Like that's 4 or 6 episodes a day. And you can get through 1,000 shows, in 10 years. It's just being consistent and doing that, all the time.
I've got total entries, Mal, 1,307.
Yeah.
I've got the number of episodes, individual episodes watched, 11,914.
There we go.
I mean, and I only joined Mal in 2017. You know what I mean? So the vast majority of that, you figure, you have to go back to when Crunchyroll first launched as an app, when it was quasi-legal.
Yeah.
And Anime Network used to broadcast 30 days for free. And it's like, it's only been within probably, the last 7 or 8, maybe 9 years that there's been readily available streaming that gives you good dub or sub to get access to this stuff. So, I mean, you can rack it up fast.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you get into shonen.
Right? Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Forget about it. You're done.
Got plenty of content there. I mean, 10% of that could be One Piece.
Yeah.
Easy.
Well, I think I saw One Piece was on one site. It was 984 episodes.
Yep.
Like, wow.
Yeah. So,
it's a good time
for me, I can definitely tell that I haven't gotten as many episodes as you guys, because I'm actually quite on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm very targeted in what anime that I watch. I need my time for other things, and so I have to be very targeted with what I watch. So there's a lot of stuff that I just haven't. There's things that I would have loved to at the time that it came out, like Lane. Just now, unfortunately, getting into it, and I say unfortunately because I feel like the screen is sucking me in watching that show.
Yep.
But it's. So, and for a couple of years, I used Adult Swim as kind of a guide, a little bit.
Sure.
And so, went off in that direction. But I haven't, I don't have that time. I hear you, Johnny, say 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and I'm like going, I probably could do that. I know that what's going to happen is I'm going to be at lunchtime. I'm going to be like, I'm really enjoying this sub, and it's just I'm just going to be distracted by it.
Yeah.
So if you're really trying to rack up the hours, it's definitely you can do it. But if you want to be just targeted in what you want to watch and really enjoy it, like actually the thing that I was watching, just talking about a little bit a while ago, the Maddox thing. There's an actual. I remember Brent the anime we watched and we were trying to figure out, and we figured out it was a Ford truck.
Oh yeah.
Sales pitch. Well, I found a 2001 Walt Disney connection that was written on a packaging slip on the side of in the anime.
Wow.
So when you have a targeted time like that, you can notice little details like that. Like watching through it, I saw Walt Disney and I saw 2001. I was like, oh, pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But for those of you who have the time that you can do that, geez, go for it.
Yeah.
But
well, and then I'm kind of different because, and I mentioned this before. When I watch anime, I watch anime. Like I'm very religious about that. Where I don't have a tablet up, I'm not scrolling Twitter, right? Like I am dedicating my time to that thing. So it's hard for me to find time to do that.
If you could watch something with sub and scroll for Twitter and a tablet, you are doing well.
I know a lot of people who do.
Literally true.
And here's the other thing, and not to put anyone down, but I know a lot of people who have, huge lists on analysts because they've seen all these shows because it's been out of the corner of their eye while they're doing other things. Like, it's been playing, and so technically they've watched it, but like, how much do you actually remember those shows? So there's that too.
Dub, maybe. I mean, dub, you can get up and go into the other room and hear them talking, and then you're following things. But man, if it's subtitled, you can't. Yeah. You look away out the window and you're like, "Oh, pause, back up 2 seconds." What? Okay, now I know where I am.
No, I distinctly remember talking to some other anime fans at a meetup or club somewhere, and they had watched a show that I had watched. And they watched it pretty recently, and I was like, "Oh, didn't you like this? Oh, didn't you like this?" And they're like, "What?" "Oh, yeah, I guess that happened."
Right.
I'm like, yeah, it happened, and just, just a lot of it hadn't been absorbed, sadly. So, who knows?
Wow.
But not any of you, just some people do that. Did y'all hear that? And welcome back to the weekly anime and manga news for the week ending October 10th, 2020. Let us get to the news, beginning with an upcoming CGI anime series coming to Netflix from Studio Orange. This is very exciting. Orange is the studio behind Land of the Lustrous and the recent Beastars. So Netflix has nabbed this new anime series called Godzilla Singular Point. It'll come out in 2021 globally, which is exciting. It'll be directed by Atsushi Takahashi, who directed the Blue Exorcist movie, the Doraemon Kachikochi movie, as well as Ride Back, which I liked a lot. And the plan is to combine hand-drawn and CG animation styles. The original character designs will be done by Kazue Kato, creator of Blue Exorcist. The composer behind several Doraemon films and Yoimushi Pedal is doing the music. And To Enjo, author of The Empire of Corpses and Other Things, is scriptwriter. Sounds like an interesting cast. This has nothing to do with the other Godzilla CGI stuff on Netflix currently, which I think we're all very happy to hear about.
Why? Is there a problem?
Not well liked, I'll put it that way. Those
it was hard to get into.
Yeah. Is it like the Sci-Fi Channel when they do a movie and it's just like, oh, just no, kind of that kind of cringy?
No, it's not so much cringy. It's just really just hard to get into.
I haven't seen them. Apparently, they're very talky.
Yeah.
And they're just very plot heavy for a Godzilla movie. Where it's like I want to see Godzilla destroy things.
Giant monster. It's not really a lot of talking.
Yeah. I love kaiju. I love kaiju movies. So when I saw that the first one what was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the first one came up on Netflix, and I tried getting into it, and there was so much talking. I'm like, no. Talk a little bit, the monster comes out. That's what you do. This is the kaiju movie. That's what happens here.
All the model tanks get squished, and the airplane's knocked out of the air. That's the fun stuff.
Exactly. And you see the before that happens. Right.
Yeah. I love that. I love those. They're just awesome.
They are awesome.
As a kid, I so wanted to go and be like, just find like the set and be like, oh, this is so cool.
So before the plague hit me, I actually did. I forgot. I did get through the first episode of Beastars.
Ooh.
Stars.
And
I saw what you guys meant by the CGI on that. It was really impressive. If they're working on this, then I'll give it a go because I did like what I saw at Beastars.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very curious. There is an image posted. It looks like just basically character designs by the guy. Nothing CGI about it. So I'm curious to see how they're going to adapt that, what they're going to do with it. Because it's a studio that's doing interesting things. So very.
I will eagerly anticipate what you guys think of it when it happens because I don't have Netflix.
Yeah.
So.
The Netflix jail strikes again, sadly. Moving on to a bit more upcoming anime news. Upcoming adaptation of a light novel series called I've Been Killing Slimes for 300 Years and Maxed Out My Level. Sort of from what I've heard, it is a sort of slice of life isekai series. The main character, I do love this concept. Basically was an office worker and like died in the office, like from overwork. Literally worked herself to death. And so reincarnated as an undying, unaging witch, and so decided, you know what, I'm gonna do the minimal possible work, just as much as I need to survive, and that's all. So she's been going out and just killing slimes, like killing one slime a day, like just enough to like pay for her food, and all that stuff. But now that she's been doing that for 300 years, like her level has inexorably built up to where she's insanely powerful. So what's going to happen? So clearly a bit of the didn't I tell you to make my abilities average in the next life kind of a concept, but definitely looks a little bit more fun and light. The 8th volume will be released October 27th of this year in English. The novel series ranked at number 9 on the 2019 edition of the Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi, or This Light Novel is Awesome guidebook. So definitely, highly anticipated in that sense. What do you guys think about this one? This gonna catch your eye?
I'm on it. I'm watching it.
Conceptually, idea of like living forever doing the most minimal amount of work works for me.
Well, it's also interesting that they're doing the office worker thing, because the one they're doing this season, Kamatachi ni Hirowareta Otoko, same kind of thing. It's a guy who's an office worker and he works for a black company, and they overtime him and work him so hard he dies. It's just like,
wow.
Okay. So this is now the next thing. It's not just office worker who gets pushed in front of a train or office worker who trips on the curb and hits his head. Now it's office worker who's worked to death at their job. So that's interesting social commentary.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
respect.
Social commentary.
Yeah.
Just saying. Curious to see their take on that. Hey, who gotta love it. Speaking of which, we have an upcoming adaptation from NHK World. They'll be streaming the anime adaptation of a manga in February 2021, so just a few months away. The title is Maiko-san chi no Makanai-san, or Makanai in the Maiko Lodge. This is the story of a young woman who works as a cook in a lodge for geisha. So when geisha, basically, they do their work, they come home, they live in this lodge. And so she is the cook there. Interestingly, the idea is that she started doing this job after finishing junior high school and leaving home. So presumably she does not have a high school education, which is kind of interesting. And a friend of hers is an apprentice geisha, Michael. And it's going to be about her experiences and the life of being a geisha and then coming home and putting up your feet for a little bit. So it sounds pretty relaxing, and again, sort of a slice of life-ish kind of a thing. Maybe some cooking involved. Who knows?
This totally appeals to me. And Stories, Tokyo, that show. John, if you ever get Netflix, you should give that a try, or if you can find it, give it a try. This sounds totally up my alley. It sounds like stories and slice of life, and just an interesting actually. I mean, cooking for geisha.
Totally.
I mean, it sounds totally interesting to me. I would totally buy into that.
I would totally enjoy watching that. I think that's the same kind of thing. It's like there's going to be some interesting stories that they could weave in there. Is it the Geisha of Gion? Is that the book?
Familiar.
But you know what I mean? It's like that would be not that you would adapt the book in and of itself wholly, but that's, you know what I mean? Like her stories where she describes her experience being a geisha and being trained, you know, that would be so interesting to see that, like, bits and pieces dribbled into that anime to give you some of that flavor. Yeah. Like, oh gosh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah. Plus cooking stuff. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
Cooking.
Always cooking. Always want.
Doesn't like cooking stuff.
Right. You know. Come on, folks.
Oh yeah, I've been watching the Izakaya.
Oh, Izakaya. Yes.
And it's like, I love the fantasy world that they're in, where like all the palace guards keep coming in and eating, and they're like, "Yeah, give us a what's on tap." And I was like, "What are they talking about?" They set a beer down. I'm like, you know, that's pretty clever. Somebody in another dimension was like, they have no idea what a beer is, and so it's like you call it do you want what's on tap? Like, yeah, I'll have a what's on tap.
Oh, what's on tap?
And just them cooking, and then the little postscript part where they talk one episode, they'll talk to the chef who makes the dish that's in the show, and the next where they talk to a food critic.
Yeah. And
he walks around Tokyo in different sections of the town and finds a restaurant that serves that. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, that was fun to watch and makes me really hungry.
Oh yes, I was just gonna say, yeah. The problem with that is then, if you're gonna watch Izakaya, just before you do, I would recommend going on Google Maps and finding the nearest Asian market.
Yeah.
Just saying. You might want to do that. Moving along to some news of some controversy this week. The latest Higurashi series came out, and minor spoiler alerts. It's not what folks thought it might be. The true title has been revealed for the new Higurashi series. It is being called Higurashi When They Cry Go, G-O-U. It was revealed this is the creator's intent to not reveal this title until episode 1 came out and people found out what the new series is actually doing and what's going on there. They also released a special specially commissioned key visual for the series as part of a direct collaboration between Funimation and Kadokawa. And they've also revealed a particular voice actor, a particular character. I will not spoil that. So, yes, we now know what's going on with the new Higurashi series, and I see Steve with the thing in the head. Yep.
Pained look.
Pained look. Is this the thing you were looking forward to? Is the thing that you were not aware of?
You saw some of it, or you didn't see some of it, or what?
No. Higurashi is my favorite thing ever. No, never, ever. No, just no. But we come out with the news. Is
this new, or is this a retelling of the original Higurashi?
That's the thing.
You know what I mean? It's like, is this a sequel?
It's the old ones you never could tell because they were kind of like had that weird reincarnating that they're talking about. But it's just for those of you who like pain, things being ripped off, stabbed in the head with a Santoku knife. Or no, actually watching a small child stab herself in the head with a Santoku knife.
Right.
Things like that, this will be for you. It is definitely a Goro fan thing. Now, for all I know is that the new Higurashi could be just a cute kawaii romp, but I don't think so.
So it is retelling. It's retelling the story like more accurately to the.
No. What's happening is this is not a apparently. This was pitched as a remake.
Oh,
they were going back.
Death and Destruction.
Yeah,
a remake.
Basically, they're going back and they're going to retell the story. No, this is a new original story with the same. It's essentially an alternate timeline, from what I understand. It is a whole.
Okay, this is what that statement.
What the hell?
This is what that statement means to me. New inventive ways for small, cute children to kill themselves.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're murdered by other older psychotic children.
But apparently, like, it does tie in, because Higurashi has this weird sort of time loop thing going on. So like it's not like, alternate timeline in the sense of we're just going to go in a completely different direction. Like it is worth apparently exploring this because you will understand more things because they're going to do that. But it's not what anyone thought it was going to be, which is not a shock because it's Higurashi. Higurashi
now, does it stand alone?
Probably not.
Like, do you have to have?
I don't think
Higurashi
anything in Higurashi stands alone. I think everything in Higurashi relies on everything else.
Is together with everything else.
See, all you dark anime fans, God, too much.
Yeah, and apparently,
I do watch dark anime. I do watch it, and I'm fine with that. But for some reason, Higurashi really just for me just pushes that button hard and twist with a twist. It's just
And according to Spin,
very uncomfortable.
Wikipedia lists a new director, so they may have literally swapped directors on everyone. Jesus. You thought it was this person, no, it's actually So Higurashi messing with its fans yet again. And for those not familiar, Higurashi was its original conceit was it appeared to be a cute visual novel, and then you start playing it and horrible things start happening to the characters kind of out of nowhere, and it turns out to be this whole horrible horror story.
Horrible.
Yes, very horrific.
Needs more moe.
No. Well, that's the thing. Anyway, moving right along to much happier news in general. The Violet Evergarden film has made over 1 billion yen, totaling just over $10.58 million US in theaters, over 700,000 tickets sold. It had the highest per-screen average for 3 consecutive weeks since opening. So this film is doing quite well in Japan. It had a 840,000 yen per screen average previous weekend. Opened September 18th, where it ranked at number 2 in its opening weekend, which is awesome. It was really going to open on April 24th, but of course, COVID. Other interesting news besides that is that Kyoto Animation posted the first 10 minutes for free online. I believe it is Japanese only. I don't believe there are any subtitles on it. I have not checked personally. But apparently it is on YouTube. There's just the first 10 minutes of Violet Evergarden right there if you want to check that out. It's probably going to look fairly decent, I'm going to guess, if you want to check that out. And give folks a taste of Violet Evergarden. Have you guys seen any of this yet? I admit this is something that has passed me by.
No, I haven't.
Oh, I've been strongly recommended to see it. I think Phil watched it like a month or so ago or more, and he texted me a random night. He's like, "Have you seen Violet Evergarden?" I'm like, "No, it's I've heard enough about it. I would like to eventually get to." "Oh, you got to see it. We loved it." I'm like, "Wow, okay, that's a really strong recommendation." So I got to get to it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah.
And now we can see a little bit.
Woohoo!
Also in anime film news, Funimation has confirmed, along with Aniplex USA, that they will be releasing the Demon Slayer film in North American theaters in early 2021. To be clear, that could mean June, but still. This is Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie Mugen Train, because all of our titles need to be long now. This will be a sequel to the anime series. So it's not a retelling, not anything like that. It is a sequel story. Excuse me. Again, thank you. There we go. Yeah. It is opening in Japan in 6 days from now, as of recording this. And to give you an idea of how weird things are. The film will begin screening in all 38 IMAX theaters in Japan on the same day. Yeah. So they seem to be expecting some interest from otaku. Granted, anime film releases are usually for like 2 or 3 weeks, so they're not going to be there like forever. In fact, IMAX will probably be there for like 1 weekend and then other theaters. But still, pretty cool. Also, of course, you'll get a manga volume for showing up to those Japanese theaters. Rengoku Volume 0, of which there are only 4.5 million copies. Drawn by the original manga creator, Koyoharu Gotoge. And it shows Rengoku's first mission. Main staff members from the TV series are returning for the movie. That is the plan there. We are going to get to see that in American U.S. theaters in less than a year, which is pretty cool. Have you guys gotten a chance to check out Demon Slayer at all? I forget.
I've watched episode 1. And I liked the style.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I could maybe get into the story, but I never made it back to it since then. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought it was really interesting. I liked the character designs. I liked, even if it sounds kind of dopey, I really liked their outfits and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And subsequently, the cons that used to, have where you could go and be there in person and see people face to face. Those things, I know it's a wild concept now, but I love the people who are coming in their Kimetsu no Yaiba cosplay outfits. I mean, spot on, beautiful looking stuff. And so it's got me interested in it. It's just, I can't, again, I've got to get through all this stuff. And like I was saying to Steve, got to get to the backlog. It's in the backlog.
Exactly. Yeah.
I might be able to sweeten the deal for you there, John.
Ooh.
I have something happens a little later in the series that might sort of change things around. Rem shows up. No, I'm kidding.
So I gotta go. How do you turn this off?
And I'm curious if this would kind of change your mind, because I had a similar reaction, and somebody told me this. I went back and watched it, and I was like, oh, I think it's episode 2 or 3.
I just gotta watch one more episode.
The boy and the girl, I think it's episode 2, come to like another stopping point, and they come across like a zombie. And a zombie attacks them, and the girl kills the zombie. The one with the,
Yeah, Netsuko.
Netsuko, I think.
Netsuko.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the setup in part 1. It's like, she's infected, but she still recognizes her brother, and that seems to calm her down. And it's like, okay, so I know this is going to be like him, her, and he's going on that hero's journey, start of the journey, and he's looking for that cure for that thing to make her back to normal. So I figured she would be literally the strong, superhuman strong, and he's got to contain that. So yeah, that makes, that would make a lot of sense.
Okay. All right. See, I was assuming that she would not be allowed to fight because she would be too strong. That they would sort of hold that back as long as possible. Instead, they seem to be pushing on that. Now, granted, shortly thereafter, like she does get sort of sidelined so he can kind of level up, basically.
Right.
To kind of make that, and it is very clearly a manga thing of, we need to figure some way of making him more powerful. She falls asleep for a while. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, she whatever.
Well, apparently you stick a piece of bamboo. That would, now that I've said that and I've seen all the costumes of it, that would have been really funny if it had been just a big hunk of sugarcane, and like all she does is she's just chewing on a sugarcane piece like the whole time. It's like it's nothing about like keeping her fangs under control. It's literally about like, ooh, sugar. Ooh, that's nice. That would be kind of a funny thing.
I'd be up for that. And I'm just
anybody who goes out in the world does that in an anime, pay me royalties on that idea right there.
The other thing is Demon Slayer has just an absurd action animation budget, so I can't imagine what this movie's gonna look like. Holy smokes!
Well, just episode 1 was like, ow, you guys, you're whoever is in your marketing department went out did fantastic work because you've got money.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, and that bar stays high from what I've seen. Moving on to a few notes also this week. So if you guys have anything to add, please let me know. Otherwise, just a few things to note. Naruto will be released on Blu-ray, the original Naruto series from way back when. Viz will be releasing that first 27 episodes coming out on Blu-ray November 3rd, which is cool, standard sort of releases.
By the time they get to present.
Exactly, yes. We have a ways to go on that. But, that's the way that cookie crumbles. There's going to be a second season of the Sorceress Stabber Orphan remake, which kind of surprises me because that did not seem to be a big deal. But hey, we're getting more of that January 20th. I saw
Steve.
I saw the first episode.
Mm-mm.
And good, bad.
The main character is okay. It's a remake of a '90s fantasy anime. Imagine '90s anime fantasy TV series, right? Imagine the stereotype of that. That is Orphan. Not complaining. It is very much that thing. It is that animated today.
Oh.
So, character's kind of an asshole.
I saw that
not horrible, but
when I saw the description, I was like, oh, it could be.
Yeah.
I'll wait to see what people say.
Yeah, character's kind of a jerk. He picks on people. There are other characters around. It just has all of those tropes. Nothing's really been updated that I saw. It has a really neat concept. I don't think it's a spoiler. Guys interested in a girl who gets basically turned into a dragon against her will. And the dragon is now what people are hunting and trying to kill. And so he has to go and defeat the dragon, but then turn her back into the girl as opposed to kill it. So that's the kind of conceit there. But it's just very 90s, ha ha ha, we're being funny now because we have to be funny now. Kind of stuff. And it's just, maybe it gets better. Just episode 1, I was like,
I was hoping for more sorcerer stabbing.
Yeah, exactly. That does happen. But, whatever.
Each episode is very episodic. Each episode ends up with a different sorcerer getting stabbed.
There we go. Yeah. Kunihiko Ikuhara, he of Revolutionary Girl Utena, Sarazan Mai, and Yurikuma Arashi fame, has announced at New York Comic Con Metaverse that he is working on his next work right now. Although it is not Utena related, he said he tries not to forget the sense of freedom Utena gave him. And so we will see where that takes us. I mean, not much to know other than he's working on something else, and he's interesting. The Oishinbo manga is getting an anime adaptation. They launched a YouTube channel for that, and they're streaming the first episode of the anime with English subtitles for free. And they will be streaming new episodes with digitally remastered version every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday through October. And then new episodes Wednesdays and Fridays starting in November. They'll eventually stream all 121 episodes of the anime for free on YouTube. Awesome. This premiered in 1988. Because this premiered in Japan in 1988. and aired on Nippon TV until 1992. It follows two culinary journalists, produced by Shin-Ei Animation. I'm sure there are ads on that as well, which is probably where they make the money. But I also think this is not something that they're like trying to. They're probably not trying to like make scads of money off of it. It's an anime from the 80s. Like, okay, put it on there, get a few bucks, great. See where it goes. But if you want to check out Oshinbo, it's free. Not a bad thing. Finally, we are getting... Okay, when you think of all the anime that you might want to make a stage play out of, the one that comes to mind to me is Psycho Pass. That's right. Psycho Pass is getting a stage play. Butai Psycho Pass Virtue and Vice 2, which will run November 20th through 29th at the Mijizawa Theater in Tokyo, and December 3rd through 6th at the Cool Japan Park Osaka WW Hall in Osaka. And yes, that is a thing that's going to happen. This is actually the second Psycho Pass stage play. Technically, this is a sequel, and it is this will be the first one was an all-new story with new characters in the Public Safety Bureau Criminal Investigation Department. There's an image on ANN, and yes, giant gun. That's still a thing in there. So yeah,
I guess what I want. So are the like first 30 rows gonna have like ponchos, or are you gonna be given plastic sheets to wear and
like a Gallagher show?
Like a Gallagher show, they're gonna be like, here's a psycho.
See, when you say things like this is going to be a stage show, what immediately comes to mind is there's a Robot Chicken sketch where they do the Wrath of Khan as an Italian opera.
And, let's be honest,
and I will give it this much: Seth Green and Matt Senreich did a fantastic job because it's well sung in Italian, and it's actually genuinely interesting. But just the ludicrous aspect of all of that, having Shatner singing in Italian, it's just insane. So that's all I can think of is like Psycho Pass, the stage play. It's like, whose fever dream is this? Why do they keep doing this?
Hey, there was a Ghost in the Shell theatrical play.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's
interesting
times. Maybe, I don't know. It's
there's merchandising, and then there's just insanity.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a very different. I mean, Steve can attest to the operatic crowd. It's a kind of stage play is a very different crowd than like your average hikikomori sitting at home on their computer watching stuff.
Although granted, in Japan, there's a long-standing tradition of oddball stage plays, and oddball is probably a ineffective term, but of people putting on stage plays for very, very specific things, right? Like, why not?
Yeah, just all the people showing up in limousines and tuxedos and ball gowns and stuff, coming in to watch Psycho Pass. I think this is going to be a wonderful presentation this evening.
I can just see the review on this, and it was very fine until I got the one character's eyebrow stuck in my left eye after he exploded.
Competent stage play with effective special effects. The splatter screens were highly recommended for most people who are going to attend the evening show. Thank you.
Yeah. You have not lived until you have seen the Prince of Tennis musical. Just going to put that out there. It's on. You can
there
see
is?
on YouTube. Oh, yes. There was a Prince of Tennis live musical. The opening theme song is literally, I am Prince of Tennis, I am Prince of Tennis, and it kind of goes on from there. It's amazing.
Oh my god. Okay, so I keep thinking about this stupid little bad robotic theater that I have on another YouTube channel of mine. I just have clips of like old 50s robots, GIF clips shows, and I just do robotic voices behind screenplays, like actual Shakespeare and stuff, and put it up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, wow, bad robotic theater is actually art compared to psychopaths stage play.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell did that happen?
Well, I'm just waiting for the Ashta no Joe ballet. It's going to be that's going to be followed by the Megalobox tap dancing extravaganza. Awesome entertainment. Entertain me.
Get your e-ticket now. Oh my god!
This is not a matinee show. Go for the primetime show. Box seat recommended.
I cannot get Ishida no Joe ballet out of my head. Oh. No, it's still there. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Okay. Oh.
Time for more tea, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
More tea will make the images go away.
Oh, screw the tea. Oh, now I'm imagining the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure ballet. Like, that's got to be a thing, right?
It's pretty close as it is.
It's true. It is basically. I mean, it's already opera. It might as well.
How about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in the Park featuring Patrick Stewart?
Ooh.
You're gonna kill me.
Wow. It's an acting and physical tour de force by Sir Patrick Stewart. Brilliant, says the Chicago Tribune. What the hell happened, says the New York Times. The Miami Herald says, we couldn't understand it either.
Dang. Oh, dear. God. Oh, no.
I think we're all broken now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm done. There's nothing. That's it. Yeah. I need to go back to playing my Battle Maiden with a Claymore in Genshin Impact. I'm just done. Yep. Mm-hmm.
With your little assistant person who sounds so much like Ruby Rose from RWBY.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't wait to find out who the voice actor cast is on that one.
Yeah.
Very curious about that. I'll be honest. I forgot to look up anime history, so let's do that real quick.
Bum bum bum.
Yay. It's more fun to just chat through it anyway.
Or just laugh hysterically for like 15 minutes. There's that too.
Oh my god.
Still in there.
I can't wait to watch. I can't wait to watch this later, just to watch us laughing our asses off the whole time. It's gonna be awesome.
Let's see. It is October 10th. Okay, so yes, it's been a busy week in anime history. For quite a few things. So let's see if we can go back. So your last time was October 3rd, so we covered that. So we have 3 anime to talk about. In 1979, October 10th, we saw the premiere of The Rose of Versailles. Speaking of Kunihiko Ikuhara, who borrowed a little bit from this here and there. I hear you both go, ooh, which I really like the sound of that. Rose of Versailles, a legendary shoujo anime series. Some would argue the first shoujo anime series in the modern sense. Visually, stylistically, invented a lot of shoujo tropes. Very operatic. I mean, boy, this is, gosh. Operatic, soap operatic, very, very, very melodramatic, crazy show, nuts, and just absolutely amazing. Have any of you seen any of Rose of Versailles?
Yep.
I've seen snippets, bits and pieces of it because it comes up in like so many kinds of discussions and influences and other kinds of stuff. It's just amazing. Yeah. And I think we discussed it we discussed it not that many weeks ago because the cover piece to the Rose of Versailles, it might as well be Utna.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just that look. It's like, wow, stylistically, it's the same show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ooh.
Yep.
And if you ever wonder what it is, if Otakon ever goes back to being public again, I am sure they will still keep on playing it. It's been at every Otakon I've ever been at. They start playing that thing. And so if you've never seen it, if anybody out there has never seen it, and you go to Otakon, if Otakon's up in 2021, I'm sure they'll show it again. And it's actually really easy to get into also. It's just a neat melodramatic little show.
Yeah. So that was 79. Let's see here. A few years later, quite a few years later, 1995, October 4th, we see the release of Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Wow.
Which was, I think, fairly popular when it came out.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Something about
slightly.
it.
Yes, slightly.
I believe there was something about robots they liked. I'm not really sure.
That and 14-year-old girls. But we're not going to get any much further into that.
Yeah.
And then moving further, it's all about anime premieres this week. 2003, October 4th as well, the premiere of the original Full Metal Alchemist anime series.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
FMA launched.
One of my little favorites.
Yeah. Launched 17 years ago today. Not going to think too much about that either. But yes.
Wow.
So a few premieres. Because it is, fall, time for the fall premieres of anime.
Yeah. Al would be legal to drink now.
There we are. Hey. It's a good thing. Cool. That's it for this week in anime history. Nothing else major. I'm sure other, notable anime premiered this week. But
right.
Those are the big ones to note. Yeah. Good old Eva.
Makes you wonder what ones don't crop up in like the more noticeable history parts, but are so deeply influential in bits and pieces, not by whole series, so not from start to finish that it was influential, but somebody who did, who was the writer for One Piece saw this part and said, "Oh my gosh, Monkey D. Luffy, I gotta borrow that. That's a crazy look," and it was only a 5-minute segment of a really obscure something, but that date was the date that person saw that thing and said, there we go. That's going to be what I'm going to do now.
Like the Nausicaa girl in Lupin III, where there we go. It happens.
There's the influences that creep in and around that there's not any practical way to know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a miracle we do know, actually. A lot of these things.
Well, it'd be nice if going forward, people like, Miyazaki would sit down and, be like, okay, I saw from, when I was 5, I saw this thing.
Right.
Let me document for you everything that happened over the rest of my life that, was some part of all the things that you people love that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like have these major influencer people who their creative streams say where what they saw that did that, then you can sort of paper trail back to where it came from. But that's never gonna happen.
No,
it kind of sucks.
Yeah, we have bits and pieces on some of them, thankfully.
Good question from Spin. Did you ever finish Nadia?
Nope.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was worth the finish.
Soon. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like halfway through. Just gotta get back to it.
Yeah, I honestly, those first couple episodes, I was like, I don't know whether this is gonna go any place that I just really want to go on this trip. But no, actually, it didn't really. It's kudos to them. It actually really went well for that.
Cool. Yeah. So I stopped watching on the cliffhanger. No. It was in the middle of this. No. It was after that. Frankly, it was like in the middle of the sea voyage, and they're just kind of going along. It's like 4 episodes of Sea Voyage, I think, and it just kind of hit a dry patch. So I'll get back to it. Obviously still impressed.
So you didn't drop it. You didn't drop it where the invasion happened and everybody got married and all the children.
A little before that, I think. Yeah.
Or Patrick Stewart's cameo.
Exactly. I'm just totally making crap up.
Let's
see if anybody in the chat room is like, "Whoa, what?"
No, it was right after Gandalf appeared, and the thing with Han Solo. It was the between those two moments. Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, I love the pumpkin behind you and the pumpkin on the shelves.
Oh yes.
Or the pumpkins on the shelves for the Halloween.
I like Halloween. Oh, you can't see. I'm kind of a Halloween person.
There you are.
There we go. So
got 4 up there, then one that was over on the table behind you.
So you got a whole Halloween thing going on. I'll give
you
all
and one up there too.
Yeah, a little one up there too. Yeah. They should all
Yeah.
have candles going, but they're not really. Well, not candles. Flickery lights.
Candles. There's like a bonfire behind you. Ooh, that went badly.
It feels slightly warm. I should turn on the AC.
Pumpkins and open flame. Nah.
No,
Not a good plan.
Tried it before. Not a good idea. I take you guys on a tour of the rest of the house and all the Halloween decorations, but that would be difficult with all this. Sadly.
Gotta get your steady cam all out.
There
all
we
rigged up.
go.
Too much effort.
Well,
Smacks of effort.
Yeah. Effort. Who wants effort?
Effort.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's all. We did history. We did that.
It's just one question.
Well, did I talk about something I liked last week?
Wait, one question?
Have I done that in a while? Did I talk about something I like?
No, you haven't talked about that today. You talked about it last week.
Okay. I don't have anything. I didn't have a new thing for that. Give me a second.
I like Halloween.
Talk. Hey. We might do a Halloween thing coming up here, actually.
Love Live School Idol, Sunshine, has what I thought was a really pretty good Halloween song and dance scene.
Oh, nice.
That I was like, ooh, yeah. So,
yeah, I know
I like that. There you go. You could like that.
Apparently, Halloween is picking up steam in Japan.
That's good.
Yeah.
Which I think didn't Kira did a video, I think after she and Alan got to Japan, like around Halloween time, and she was down in like Shinjuku or somewhere down in Roppongi. I don't know where she was, but it was all kinds of people out in the street in costume.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah, I know Harajuku does like a Halloween thing every year.
Okay, I mean maybe that's what it was.
It's costume thing, and they're trying to sort of expand that out to other parts of the country, doing I think especially like little trick or treat in the apartment complex kind of stuff. Where you get 10 families together to do it, and it's kind of fun that way. Which sounds cool to me. That's kind of nice. I have a thing which actually works surprisingly well given the layout of my room today. Ha ha ha. It's a bit of a hint. And so if this will actually switch over, I can show it to you. I have about... Hey, there we go. Let me just get this ready to go, and then I will show you a little bit of this thing that I love.
I see it. I saw a part of it.
Yeah.
For a second.
There we go. Let me... Right. I gotta do a thing. I gotta do this. And then I think I can do that. And then I think I can do this. And I'm going to talk to you for a minute about something I like. There we go. I'm going to talk to you for a minute about something I like. This is Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash, anime series from a few years ago. As I say this, it's an anime series, technically an isekai, but the main characters are reincarnated into a fantasy world with no memory of their past selves. They are just now alive in a D&D style fantasy world and have to survive using their new skills. And what I love about Grimgar is that it is very quickly surprisingly grounded and serious with its premise. Because very early on in the storyline, they are fighting this goblin, and they are literally just trying to kill this one goblin, and it takes forever. Because goblins don't want to die. They want to survive as much as anyone else does. And so they're suddenly in this world where, it's the law of the jungle, basically. And so they're having to figure out how to live and how to get through everything, despite just being clearly originally Japanese, teenagers, but now in this new world, kind of learning the new worlds of that, the new rules of that. The overall tone is very, I would say, exploratory, in the sense that you're getting to understand the characters in the world. It can be dramatic, it can be funny, it can be a variety of different things. There's not much in the way of like real romance, which I actually think is appropriate in this story, because it is more about survival. It is more about kind of the everyday stuff of that, and it is very much about this idea of, you know, you need to make money to live, and if you're not out there fighting every day, you don't get to do that, and so you have to do that even if you don't want to. So it's kind of about working as well, but in this, again, very dangerous fantasy world. Skipping that frame there for a second, but it also has this lovely tone to it visually, this kind of softness to it in a way. I just really enjoy looking at it visually. There's just something kind of slightly Breath of the Wild to it, if you will. It can be just gorgeous a lot of the time, while also being surprisingly grounded, surprisingly serious. There are some dramatic, serious things that happen in Grimgar, and there's some twists in there that really took me a little off guard when they happened. And I ended up, you know, basically mainlining the series, just going all the way through. Very impressed with what it is. It never gets really, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, it never gets really huge. It doesn't become, you know, this big save the world plot. It's because it's about people trying to survive, and just kind of get along with their lives and move on and do that. But it does come to a climax in the end. There is a pretty satisfying conclusion to that season, which I really, really appreciate. That it does go somewhere, and does kind of finish up at the end of that season, while still leaving a room open for more story. So yeah, if this kind of thing, you know, if you like the visuals, you're gonna get a lot more of this in Grimgar. Really, really like it. So that is that. I hope you, if this kind of idea interests you, I hope you find Grimgar of interest to you as well. Doop. 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 There we go. We're back.
I enjoyed Grimgar.
Cool.
And
never seen it.
As happens with the way that Grimgar is, I got invested in what was going on in that, and it's just like, it's well done with that. You engage with the characters, you engage with the storyline. You're really, they do a very good job at that. At exactly what you're saying. It's like, if you don't work, you know, the old adage, if you don't work, you don't eat. And it's like, so you know, oh, we're going to an isekai world, we're going to fight, and this is, you know, we're going to do these things. It's like, it's usually so glamorous. And Grimgar is one of those where it's not just one person is kind of at a disadvantage and they're catching up to the glamour. It's a group of people who are in the reality of, like, you know, wow, we don't really have anything to sort of organize us in a particular way to be this glamorous. We're just slogging. It's a job every day.
Yep.
And like a job every day, you've got to buy the food, you got to clean the house, you got to, you know, keep care of yourself. And we're totally in a different world. And it's like, wow, I really felt very connected to those characters, and I was emotionally invested by the end of it. That it's just like, I read a little bit beyond the series, the anime, about how things develop in the manga, and wow,
really,
it gets like far more connected in the manga, and it's like, oh my, it would be hard to do the second season of that. I mean, it's really very powerful how the story moves on from there.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, ooh.
Yeah. Heavy stuff, sounds like.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's not. I mean, it's not really very light. The anime season is not light.
No.
I mean, there are consequences for things that happen, and that's what made it such emotionally engaging. Is to have that kind of connection to those characters, and then to feel for what's going on for them. And it's just like Konosuba. I feel funny. I feel happy. That's like, how, here we are dumped into a strange world with a useless goddess and a masochist. It's just like, yeah, this is goofy as hell. Grimgar is not.
No. One of the saddest things about Grimgar is that you get hints of who they used to be and what life must have been like for them.
Yeah.
And it's gone. Like, they don't even remember it. It's gone to them. And you're like, oh. It's so sad that is just that all those opportunities they had, all those directions they were going in life are just forever closed off now.
Yeah, and you have, again, the I'm Sitting on a Million Lives. It's novel, the idea of snapping into and out of your isekai. Most of the time, and Dog Days kind of does it too. He doesn't snap in and out, but he's able to travel to and fro because of certain circumstances. And that's Dog Days. It's funny. It's cute. It's a lot of animal girls and all kinds of great things. But in Grimgar, it's like you don't really, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say it's never addressed what your exit strategy is.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
in a sense, it is, because like in the first episode, they wake up, and there's a guard there who says, "Yeah, so people keep showing up in this tower, wearing these weird, funny clothes, and so we give them, jobs to do."
Yeah, but
like none of them go away. Like they now become part of our society.
A lot of these, it's always I'm going to do this, and then I'll go home. You know what I mean? It's like you think about Tata no Yusha, the shield hero.
Oh yeah.
Now Fumi is, screw all you. I hate everybody. I hate this entire world. And when we finish defeating the wave, I'm back on the bus. I'm going back home. You guys can go pound salt. I don't care.
Yeah.
So you have a concept that's like there is an exit strategy, and Grimgar, it's like there might be. But it doesn't seem that way. It's like a one-way trip. Congratulations. Everything and everyone that was dear to you is gone. How do you deal with that? You're like, wow.
And I like the fact that like one of the main plot points of that season is clean underwear. Like having a second pair of underwear, right? Yeah. Because that costs money, and you gotta wash your underwear. Like this is a thing you have to think about. Right. Most people in the world do not have 20 changes of clothes, right? And all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. Like any really in-depth D&D session, you could have. A D&D session where you don't worry about food particularly. You don't, you might have to worry about an inn or something, but you're on the adventure, and then little nitty-gritty details don't really mean anything. And then you have the really in-depth, really involved D&D sessions where it's like, okay, the sun rises. You guys are in a field. You've stayed out all night. You have no tents. You have no nothing. You are cold. You're wet, and you are exhausted because you didn't really sleep. So now what are you going to do? Well, we're going to do okay, really? Okay, because now you're moving at like 1/3 speed because of your aches and pains and how bad things are. So what are you going to do now? You know what I mean? It's like, so Grimgar has more of like that kind of concept where it's like, it's not just all wine, roses, and amazing hero life. It's like, you're a schlep and you got nothing.
Yep.
And everything you have to figure out a way to do things that you don't have a smartphone. You don't have mom and dad. You don't have modern society and modern equipment and modern tools. You're in, the ultimate fantasy nowhere. You don't have like any kind of particular super something that makes you able to do life. Yep. You have to figure out how to live your life now.
So basically, I'm hearing that there's this really upbeat anime.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just like Konosuba.
You know,
very goofy.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Just you wake up, like just that whole description of waking up cold and feel wet, sticky, broken, confused, and you're just like, what do I do next?
Ironically, I was glad it was 12 episodes. It's one of those anime where you're like, good, 12 episodes. Thank you. I don't need more of that right now. You know, I got through all that drama. Let's move on to something else for a little while. You know. But it's cool.
Like I said, if you want to just look into it, I'm not saying necessarily pick up the manga itself. You know, certainly do so if you wish to do so. But there are, because Grimgar is enough time back, there are enough little discussion synopses about what happens in the manga that sort of dovetails in with how the anime goes. That will give you some insight as to what you think's gonna go on there. And boy,
it's weird. I cannot find references to the Grimgar manga.
It's got to have come from a manga, didn't it?
There's something. I'm not. I mean, I don't know. Did it?
I see it came from an adaptation.
Light novels. It's light novels. It's based on novels, not manga.
Okay, I was going to say because I'm looking at the my anime list, and
there is a manga adaptation, but it came after the original novels, apparently.
Okay. Where am I seeing that written?
There are 16
volumes unknown
Grimgar light novels.
Okay, yeah, I see this is information type novel. Published June 25th, 2013 to ?
Yep.
So presumably still ongoing. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those you could really do a deep story on that because all the characters in Grimgar, you know, really do have a place that it would be interesting to see how you flesh out their backgrounds. So.
Yeah, how they all come together. Cool. Yeah, I have not read the core manga, having had those experiences with the anime, but maybe the manga works better. I don't know. Might work. Yeah, the Spriggan anime adaptation from Netflix. That's weird.
Why is Spriggan a weird thing?
Spriggan was the last all-cell anime.
Really?
Yeah. That was its big thing. 1999, I think. It is kind of like what Steve was saying earlier. It's one of those movies that was more an animator's powerhouse kind of an experience. More just sort of featuring people's skill. Bunch of different ideas all thrown together. Fairly big deal when it came out from that perspective of just, look at these people involved in this, look at how beautiful the animation is. And it's got some amazing animation in it. But it's just one of those things that's like, why are you remaking this, Netflix? Why would you do that?
My anime list gives it a rating of R17 plus for the movie.
It is very gory.
Okay. And this is for the movie. It says there's an ONA as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the movie. The ONA must be the Netflix thing. 21 scheduled.
Oh yeah.
ONA.
Yeah, I see that.
Same
Same description.
So it was originally a manga, so I guess that makes sense. So I guess the anime film Studio 4C 1998. I take that back. But yeah, the
interesting.
Let's see here. Yeah, using the Noah's Ark story. That's definitely the story arc. Katsuhiro Otomo supervised the film, so that's one of the big things.
Aha.
Mm-hmm. And generally available.
Akio Watanabe. Akio Watanabe did the key animations for it. I keep seeing that Watanabe name.
Yeah. Made $3.5 million in Japanese theaters when it came out, so that's pretty good.
I may have to throw that on the list to watch. Something else to watch. Go figure that.
Exactly. I will say it is very much kind of talking about the orphan thing. Get ready for like peak 90s anime. Like it is very much that. Very enjoyable for that.
Project A-ko, I like Megazone 2-3. You know what I mean? I'm used to that.
It's more like gritty shonen version of that, but very much that. Yeah. You know, I'm a dark hero, and I'm off on my adventure as a mercenary to save to resolve things because I'm in it for the money. You know.
To resolve things. I'm to tie up some loose ends. I'm Batman. No,
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, you're not Batman. Take it easy.
Yeah. But I recall enjoying it. It's just the it has actually a bit of it is a bit like he is a bit like Guts. In that sense.
Bit of a berserk kind of thing going on.
Yeah. I mean, you know, again in that kind of era style. He's a bit more of the young man archetype, the grim young man thing, as opposed to Guts, who's a bit more like grim middle-aged
cynical
man.
To the world.
Yes, exactly. I know Guts is young, but he still feels like a Archie Bunker fantasy version.
Wow. I've never ever heard any description like that ever in my life ever. Thank you. Thank you, Brent. Wow.
Yeah, Guts is not a particularly pleasant person. Anyway.
He's seen some things.
This is true.
Just a few things.
Yeah.
Which I will be honest, I've seen, it's Griffith or Griffin? Griffith? Or Berserk? The guy for the Hawk band.
Oh, yeah, I forget. Yeah.
They have a Nendoroid that they've released recently. Good Smiles put out. Mm-hmm. I honestly, I was trying to figure out what anime girl it was. I'm looking at it, I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yep.
That's a new girl. Is she an idol or something? Is it like Miku or something? And I clicked on it and like, oh, it's from Berserk.
And I just realized, Steve, why I made that connection. It's AMV Hell 3. Where they do Berserk to the Archie Bunker thing. That's where that came from. Okay. Not original. I can't claim it. Sorry, everyone. So now I have to ask the question.
What did we learn on the show tonight, Brent?
Well, my goodness. I don't know. I learned that Kunihiko Ikuhara is making something. And that's enough to make a news item. Must be nice.
You got talent. That's the way it works.
Exactly. True.
just announce and people just drive up and would say, we'll pay for it. We don't care. You want it.
You know, you make Utena and Lesbian Bear Storm, I'm all there for it.
That works for me. How about a Lesbian Bear Utena Storm?
Ooh. Oh. Somebody's gonna do that.
She fights the Rose of Versailles.
Yeah.
God.
Everything. Yeah, and penguins are involved.
Everything and more.
Need to add Patrick Stewart.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we've learned that Ashita no Joe as a ballet is probably the greatest single idea that has come out of any mind in a long, long time. In addition to JoJo's, bizarre adventure in the park with Patrick Stewart.
Yes. This I need to see.
Yes. These things I've learned are going to be amazing. I have learned that Godzilla is this endlessly drawable well of inspiration that it just 1954, when they're launching Godzilla, the black and white film, I really hope somebody somewhere just said, we're going to make so much money out of this. Let's make sure we just got everything, copyright, trademark, everything forever. Just keep this going forever because it will never go away. And it's like, oh, thank goodness.
It's the
Godzilla, you've given us all such joy over all the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Godzilla is definitely felt like a one-trick pony for a long time. But yeah, people just keep making Godzilla stuff.
Yeah. And hopefully this one will be good. I mean, let's put that caveat on there.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not just some ridiculous dope crap. Hopefully it's really it's good. It's entertaining. We all love it. Hey, come on.
Yes. Yes. I have learned that watching anime while dosing on NyQuil and being sick can be interesting.
Yeah.
And be fun. And be horrific, depending upon what you watch. I would not recommend it with Demon City Shinjuku because it's just not gonna, the
What's
nightmares.
this Overfiend anime? Let me give that a try.
Yeah,
You should have watched Land of the Lustrous. You should have watched that.
There we
tripped
go.
out on NyQuil. Land of the Lustrous would have been like a crazy psychoactive trip with NyQuil.
The colors, man, the colors.
I can taste the number 9. It's great.
I'm having a religious experience or a stroke. I don't know which one.
I don't care.
I'm watching JoJo's Adventure. Why do I hear Patrick Stewart? I don't understand.
I'm dubbing my own shows. What's going on?
Okay.
Oh my God.
We need a Kickstarter. Patrick Stewart in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Absolutely.
You just gotta have it.
It's got to be done.
Hey, you know what? I bet you if you showed Patrick Stewart JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, he would do it. You know what I mean? He's the kind of guy that would be like, sure, let's go for it.
He's already doing American Dad, and when he was on SNL many years ago, he did if it's not Scottish, it's crap, but it was cake, and he kept presenting a cake that had a penis on it.
Okay.
Because here's your birthday cake. So I'm sure he would love to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He showed up in a robot chicken. He does kind of kooky, wacky stuff. So it's a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. The question is, what does Sir Ian McKellen do?
Rest on tons of money, maybe.
I feel like Sir Ian McKellen feels like a One Piece villain to me. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That could.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He'd be very fun in Dragon Ball. Throw him in a Dragon Ball Super somewhere. I'd watch that.
Sir Ian McKellen as Vegeta.
Ooh.
Could you do that?
Yes.
Wish I could do it, Sir Ian McKellen. Level 9,000.
Yeah, that would be that. Okay, that could be kind of funky.
You're over 9,000.
Wow. You shall not pass 9,000.
There we go. There we are. We made it.
It just gets funnier the more I think. Okay.
Oh.
Moving on. What else did we learn today? Anything else significant?
Let's see. I never learn anything. Let's see here.
That was a decent series. We never learn.
Yeah. Hey,
that was cute.
I've learned that Violet Evergarden is popular.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. It continues to chug right along. Let's see here. Other than that, I've also learned that anything can be made into a stage play.
Yes.
Yes.
Grocery shopping, gastrointestinal distress, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Ashita no Joe, anything can be made into a stage play.
Exactly. I know there have been a couple of Sailor Moon stage plays too. That's kind of interesting too. But anyway,
is that part of is that it's not that it's not legit.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a manga and you're sitting there and you're shopping this out, and somebody, Kodansha has it, and then they start talking to Bandai Visual, and then everybody's sort of working this around. Does somebody from Bill's Stage Play Emporium, do they sit in on these things where they're like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to run the manga, we're going to do this for the anime, you guys are going to produce the ONA, you're going to do the OVA, and Bill's Stage Play Productions is like,
hi, I'm Bill from Bill's Stage Play Emporium.
Can we do a stage play? And they're like, sure. How does this happen?
Yeah.
Why is a stage play a thing?
So I'm curious. So
licensing.
Yeah, there's an anime series, and as we all know, anime is just like real life. And it's about a one of these stage play production companies in Japan that is failing. And so the premise of the series is you have to put on 5 shows in the next month, or we'll close you down and we'll make it happen, all that kind of stuff. I do wonder how many, and it does feel like there are a fair number of small independent production companies in Japan, independently owned theaters that are just hungry for content, that are just, we're going to we need to be able to put on shows. And so they will license, an anime series and put it on because it's different from everything else, and they will get the same 5 people coming in every single time, which isn't enough to kind of keep them going, and hope they get that one thing. Again, I don't know, but I wonder if there's if that is part of the market, is folks who are like, well, it's gonna be different. It'll get some different folks in, worth a try.
It is actually in theater world. It all depends on how much. Are the royalties? What are the copyrights? Mm-hmm. And if you're willing to be loosey-goosey on your copyrights, if the whoever is the person who is saying, yes, please do Psycho-Pass, whoever holds the rights to Psycho-Pass, says, yes, by all means, make a musical off of us.
Steve, read the chat.
Yes, I just, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Read the chat.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. I couldn't stop seeing it. Imagine
Cowboy Bebop on ice.
Oh my god.
That's awesome.
Oh my god.
Oh
dear.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
Sorry, Steve. Sorry. I'll be okay.
I'm imagining an ice capades to tank on the rink. I mean, it's just, I can see it. I can see it. Jay Biz, I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see this. I can.
And then the really slow number to the Real Folk Blues,
Right.
And I'm just envisioning whoever's going to play Faye, when she's in her ship, literally it's just the ship around her waist, and she's just skating. And Spike is just got the swordfish just around him. Jet has the ship it's just a waist costume, and they're skating around.
If Starlight Express shows us anything, that can be done, right?
Oh
man!
Oh my god! I wish I had money because I would actually do this.
Start writing it up for a stage. Here we go.
So...
How's this gonna be on ice part?
Oh my god!
Oh gosh! I'm sorry, Steve. What you're saying?
No. No, I have to do this now.
There you go. Yes. Oh.
Unagi Observer Productions presents Unagi Productions. Observer.
You want views on YouTube? Do I have an idea for you? Just put this on YouTube. You have all the views in the world. Death threats as well, but
Oh my god!
Now, the stage plays that happen. Is there any information? Are these things solely Japan, or right now off Broadway?
Yeah.
Boston's East End production sections with all the theaters. Do these things come over to this side?
I'm
of
not
the
aware
Pacific?
of any. I'm not aware of any.
I can tell you that if somebody here, in all seriousness, if somebody here wanted to do Psychopaths, the play here, and they wanted to use that script, they would have to go through the lawyers and the copyrights of whoever wrote that or whoever controls the licensing to do that, to do the play, and then there might be actual conditions that have to happen. Like, for example, if there actually is a scene where someone blows up and on stage, the copyright can say you have to have the scene in here in order to do it. So I mean, it all depends on budget and how much money that you're willing to pay off for it. Now, I would imagine that there is somebody named Bill in these licensing companies who's sitting there in the corner just waiting at the meeting. You know, everyone else is at the table and poor Bill's back in the corner. He's just waiting. At the end of the meeting, they're just going, what else can we eke money out of here? I got something for you. We'll make a stage play. Or we'll make a stage play out of this sucker.
I've got $250 right here. Right here.
You can do it right
Real
now.
money's $250. We'll do a stage play. It'll be the greatest thing ever.
Granted, I'm sure, Kodansha must own theaters. Shueisha must own theaters. So there's probably that happening too. Where, synchronicity, all that stuff.
So rather than trying to send it to an independent theater group in the U.S., just put it in your theaters for your product. That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah. And granted, I haven't heard of a stage play that comes out. Well, every stage play I've heard of for like one of these adaptations always comes out years after like the original release of the manga. It's always manga, anime, movie, other stuff. Oh, and there's a stage play. So it definitely seems like it's more of a, maybe not an afterthought, but an sort of after initial market kind of a thing. Yeah.
How many more dollars can I squeeze out of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the Evangelion vaudeville bonanza, that only happened like about 20 years after the anime came out.
I see piano.
I'm Shinji Akami!
Music playing. And Shinji's next to the bed with Asuka, and everyone's watching.
And Ray tonight will be played by Ethel Merman.
Yeah!
Judy Garland as Asuka. What? All the greats that you've loved forever. Like, he'll be back tonight.
Oh.
Fred Astaire plays Shinji, the tap dancing robot pilot. Awesome!
Oh. Ethel Merman as Ray. That's just the most.
I think Judy Garland as Asuka is pretty.
Actually, Judy Garland would be an excellent Asuka. I will just give you that. Oh God, for all sorts of reasons.
And Shinji's father it's Goro, right?
Gendo.
Gendo, played by Sir Laurence Olivier.
Who probably would.
Wow.
Like he probably would.
He would do that well. His method acting would be awesome.
There we are. Mm-hmm. Gendo Car is the cardboard cutout of a guy just
like, wow. Or could you plus it and make it Charlton Heston?
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Get in the cockpit, you damn dirty ape.
You blew it up!
Oh, it fits! Oh, it fits so well! Oh, yes! Someone needs to make that scene. Oh,
so many stage plays, so many things that need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the comedy is thick in here tonight.
Exactly. Well, I can't top that. So thank you all very much for being here tonight. This has been amazing. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your weeks. Again, we're going to be watching the new season in the coming week, and we will talk about that next week on the live show, our impressions of the upcoming season. Or the season that's airing right now, as the I think a couple of shows are like airing this weekend, so by then we should have pretty much everything out. Obviously, it's a weird season to begin with.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the latest one I saw was like the 11th or 12th, so it's like tomorrow or Monday. So it's like they're all hot on the launch right now.
Yeah, cool. We'll check them all out and let you know our thoughts on those. And that will be the plan there. So if I'm trying to think of anything else, I think that will do it for us for tonight. Thank you all very much for being here. Thank you, John. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Arigato.
Thank you.
Until next time, everyone, watch more anime.
Ane.